Here, just take it
Rock
from
that
the flag.
We're about to start.
Then I have that on surveys. I sent them all to him. I'll just fill up on it.
All right, good afternoon, board. We're live and recording. You can start.
Thank you, LTV. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone, to the June 22nd, 2023 meeting of the Architectural Review Board. My name is Kathleen Cunningham. It's my privilege to chair this agency. I'm going to just read a little bit from the vision statement of the town's comprehensive plan to center us as we begin our work for our community. East Hampton is defined by the unique character of its hamlets, villages, and countryside. East Hampton's beaches are rated among the world's best. The land supports one of the highest concentrations of rare and endangered species in New York State. The farmland is rated the best in the state. The Nature Conservancy has designated the area as one of the last great places in the Western Hemisphere. The woodlands are diverse and healthy where they are undisturbed. The harbors and bays are among the cleanest in the state. The town is rich in historic and cultural resources. Development has not obliterated the natural and scenic characteristics once covering all of Long Island. The town treasures and is committed to sustaining this rich array of natural and cultural resources, authentic sense of place, rural character, and the people who make it unique. East Hampton is and will continue to be a green community, a leader in protecting the environment, saving energy, and preserving open space. And that directive is what anchors the code that the ARB works from. So with that, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the June 8th meeting, June 8th, 2023. May I have a motion? Thank you. May I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thanks, Mooney. Okay, I forgot to introduce Dan Gross, our new planner. He's sitting over there by Julie. He wrote two memos for us, and for those of you who haven't, well, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster journey, but when I began to chair this agency, we asked for help from the planning department and review from professional planners for agricultural overlay applications and historic district applications, because they are often full of complexities that our board members are not always able to find. So welcome, Dan, and he wrote two memos for us this week. And we're looking forward to having you as part of the team. Okay, so the first application is 153 DeForest Road, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-32-6-2, which is mine. I so wish member Ray was here, because he actually did his master's thesis on McKim, Keene, and White, I think, and the Montauk Association houses, which this house is one of the seven sisters. I forget who the representative, Andy, is this you? Yes, okay, great. So I just want to make sure representation is here as we review this. So this is an application for replacement of several non-historic windows, historic ones to remain, removal of railings and repainting of trim, and accent features as noted, replacement of non-historic brick patio with limestone, replacement of existing exterior lighting. So this is a remarkable house. I'm going to read a little bit of the background of the Montauk Association. For those of you that don't know, and it's always worth a review even if you do, the Montauk Association was established in 1881 by Arthur Benson and a group of his friends as a private summer sporting retreat. Frederick Law Olmsted, who's the architect that designed Central Park, drew a site plan for the association grounds of more than 100 acres, which were at that time open pasture land. Olmsted laid out roadways following the natural topography and precisely located house sites in the rolling terrain where each house could take full advantage of ocean views and ocean breezes and be surrounded by ample open space. 7 of the original owners built houses between 1882 and 1884, all of which were designed by the architectural firm of McKim, Mead, and White. The 7 houses and a clubhouse by the same architects were built on the site specified by Olmsted along the ridge just north of DeForest Road. The Montauk Association houses are notable works by McKim, Mead, and White during that important period in the early 1880s when their inventive and original work contributed to what we now know as the shingle style, a distinctive American architecture. These houses represent the application of McKim, Mead, and White's ideas in a simplified and restrained way to vacation houses of a modest scale. McKim, Mead, and White's greatest achievement at Montauk was the design of a cohesive group of 7 houses where each was distinct, but where none stood out as being more important than its neighbor. The modest scale and informal design of the houses complement Olmsted's rambling layout, the remote pasture land setting on the Atlantic bluff, and the owner's intent to enjoy a simple sporting life at Montauk. Shingle-style houses show an appreciation of New England colonial architecture, and this is especially true in the gable roof forms and shingled walls of the Montauk Association houses. The houses not only related to the landscape, but also to Montauk's first house with initial caps. Those of you that aren't from here, those are historic buildings. It was the first house in Montauk, second house, again, initial caps, and third house, same. The Montauk Association is a model historic district where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The houses and landscape are bound together as one creative work. Only the whole ensemble can convey the full meaning and significance of McKim, Mead, and White's architecture, Olmsted's landscape plan, and the owner's intentions. Today, the houses retain a high level of architectural integrity, and the setting is largely intact, which is a miracle when you think about it. They're over 100 years old. Maintaining the integrity of the setting is equally as important as maintaining the integrity of each of the 7 original houses. The Orr House was destroyed by fire in 1997 and was reconstructed in 2000. The reconstruction, substantiated by documentary and physical evidence, successfully recreated the appearance of the Orr House in materials, design, color, and texture. Because it is an accurate reconstruction of an important component of the whole ensemble, the Orr House is considered an historic building within the context of the Montauk Association Historic District. The Montauk Association Historic District Designation Report further describes the individual properties and character of the historic districts. And these guidelines recognize the very high level of historic and architectural significance of the Montauk Association and accordingly set high standards for preserving the historic houses and their setting. It's a remarkable, it's not a place you can really go unless you're invited. But, but it's just
They're beautiful aerials.
breathtaking. It's a breathtaking. The sites are just beyond description. It's you can see the ocean from practically anywhere on the property, and they're just they're so thoughtfully sited, and of course the architecture is lovely and reminiscent of that time, and really I think has set the standard in our community in other ways, which we can be grateful for. I generally understand what the applicant is trying to do, which is they have some windows that need replacing or repair. And I also want to recognize Tina Vavilis Lagoren, who's our assistant planning director, who did a thorough evaluation of this submission for us also. I just wanted to point out a few things, but I'll love to hear from Mr. Hammer as soon as I can just make this couple different suggestions here. There are just 2 sort of stumbling blocks for me at this point, because most of the work I think is in keeping with the house and with the design guidelines. There are very specific design guidelines in our code for the Montauk Association. I refer you to Appendix D. I've turned off, there's my little post-it note. Appendix D4, guidelines for original Montauk Association houses. And there are guidelines, and it does, these guidelines apply to the 7 original Montauk Association houses. They're often called the 7 Sisters. And the Andrews House, which this is, 153 to Forest Road, is among them. It lists a bunch of things: preserving original materials, restoring original features. Deteriorated original materials should be repaired rather than replaced. I understand that some of the windows are considered historic and others not. I'm not sure who made that designation, and perhaps Mr. Hammer can clear that up for us when he comes to the podium. But there are just a variety of windows that need to be maintained in some way, which all of us who own houses have to do from time to time. The other piece of this that seems a little problematical is the patio. They're proposing to replace a brick patio with limestone, and it appears that that may be within the wetlands setbacks and may require a natural resources special permit. The property card seems to indicate that one has been granted in the past, so I think that's pretty much an administrative matter for the ZBA. But please come up and tell us what you've got.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Richard A. Hammer from Biano and Hammer. I'm also here. I have Francis from Depostrophe. They're the design firm that I'm working with on this property. You know, I did want to echo your statement that, yeah, they're spectacular. And truthfully, it's one of those places that once you visit, you can't visit just one. Mm-hmm. It's really like a setting that kind of, you know, brings the continuity and really makes you understand the significance of where you are and why it's so important to us. This is the Andrews House, as you mentioned, at 153. I have actually a pretty long history with this property, and I can kind of explain some of the procedural things that have happened in the past that, you know, that might make a little bit more sense. Originally, my office obtained approval for the prior owner of the property, and in those approvals from the ARB, they were constructing additions to the house, a swimming pool. There was some accessory structures like, you know, the swimming pool equipment, et cetera. Most of it was going to be constructed on the east side of the property, which was deemed the best area to accommodate these accessory structures. At the time, I was working with a very well-known architecture firm, a guy named Alan Greenberg. He's a very revered architect, professor of architecture at Yale University. He did his dissertation on McKean, Mead, and White. So, you know, you find a lot of people in this field that really emulate and idolize this architecture.
It's inspiring, so, yeah.
You know, it's inspiring in its own way. And like just from learning from him and some of the other people, you know, it's a very active area of architecture study even today. You know, you're dating back to the 1920s and thereabouts, and it's still very, very active right now. As I mentioned, Alan was very into classicism architecture, and he really revered the original designs. He had thoughtfully redesigned the house to be truer to the original vision of the architects as he understood it. This property did have some extensive additions to the property. They were done when the property was owned by Roberta Gosman Donovan, who was a former chairman of the planning board and probably other things, actually, when I worked for the town. And I think the architect at the time was a guy named Francis Fleetwood. You know, his firm is still up the road. I recall Alan Greenberg had great regard for Francis Fleetwood, but he didn't like what the additions to the property had done. You know, essentially, the original vision of these properties is that the south-facing elevation, which is what you can see from the water, was going to be the banner shot. You know, it's going to be what is remembered and revered. The north-facing elevation was designed in all the houses to be relatively plain. And if you look at it now, the pictures that you took show a lot of the additions and some of the features that were added. I personally think it looks beautiful. But, you know, when you start talking about classicism architecture and, you know, how it relates to the original, you know, there's a lot of room for discussion on that. You know, as a matter of fact, I seem to remember Alan at this meeting said, it looks gingerbready, which I didn't know was an architectural firm, but, you know, I guess apparently it is. I tried to learn as much as I could from his interpretation as well as the prior application, basically how it relates to historical preservation and accuracy, as well as some of the significant features of the home. The most significant picture that you took is the one that shows that gable. That is like the iconic thing that, you know, everybody looks at and says, wow, these are just beautiful masters of architecture. The prior, as I mentioned, the prior approved application included a swimming pool and other accessory structures that were deemed to not detract from the historical setting. I did think it was kind of odd, you know, to look at this and envision, oh, and there's going to be a swimming pool. It was just one of those things that, you know, you really have to wrap your head around the purposes of the historic district, but it was ultimately approved. For better or for worse, the current owner, who does actually own another historic house in the district, abandoned the plans. I'm here tonight to essentially maintain the structure that is there and the elements rather than change anything other than certain features that one particular feature that they want to render it more historically accurate. And I'll explain that a little bit more. As to, you know, the memo that Tina prepared did make a reference to the SHPO, or the State Historic Preservation Office, and its listing on the National Register of Historic Places. I was actually one of the town attorneys in 2004, I believe, when the town adopted the historic district. You might ask, well, why did we do that? It turns out a SHPO designation as a National Register of Historic Places has no import whatsoever. There's no review. What it does is it allows those landowners that have a designated property to apply for tax credits, maybe some grant monies, but it doesn't actually protect anything. As a matter of fact, as per the actual restrictions, and if you go to the SHPO website, it says there are no restrictions placed on private owners of registered properties. Private property owners may sell, alter, or dispose their property as they wish. That was something that the town board in 2002, when they first started this, it might even have been 2001, said, hey, that's not what we want. We want to actually have teeth and be able to enforce these things. That's why we adopted our own local historic district to actually provide affirmative protection to the aspects of this district that we thought were important to preserve. The resulting historic district is the best tool that we sought to protect the culturally important elements. I also want to address the memo where it says, without explanation, the survey may not show all the proposed structures. There's really nothing else proposed on this site. I did speak to Tina. She emailed me briefly before I came here and said, oh, we weren't sure about the patio area, whether that was a new structure or whatever. It is pretty clearly shown on the survey. It's proposed to be reconstructed. And actually, our plans show it's actually going to be reduced in size based on what is there. That patio, I think, was built in 1992 by Roberta Gosman Donovan. Keep in mind, in 1992, I think the town started considering those structures around 2001, according to Joe Palermo. I also got an email from Joe Palermo before the meeting that said, hey, yes, I will allow that to occur as a reconstruction, which requires no NRSP, et cetera. So it is work that is included. I showed it to Dave.
There were some caveats with that too. It had to be in the exact place of the existing
that's correct, or smaller would be my
flag.
I didn't see that email for the record.
I got it at 2:00. I was on a Zoom call.
Yeah,
he didn't copy. I don't know why he didn't copy.
He didn't copy us, but I don't think the survey you have for this satisfies the condition that he required in that email.
Okay, but it does sound like it will. I mean, I know the setbacks of this thing are well beyond the 100-foot setback, which is, and the reconstruction is allowable as of right. I mean, we're well beyond a 100-foot setback from the wetlands shown on that survey that I can demonstrate, and I probably have surveys in my file that would demonstrate.
Survey I had didn't have that. It's usually depicted like there's a line and it shows the distance.
If you're in front of the board for NRSP, but there are other surveys that do show that.
Yeah.
And you can scale this. It's an accurate survey. I can have, even the planners can scale it with a scale and it'll show this about 142 feet or something. But let me see what I have in my packet. But at the end of the day, it looks like I'll be able to replace this patio without an NRSP as per that determination.
Okay, well, we'll work with Joe on that. And once, I mean, I would have to, I can't do that tonight. I have to wait to.
Well, it either needs an NRSP or it doesn't. I'm submitting that it doesn't. And if it does, fine. But
Yeah, I
but
get it.
that's why he answered to me. And unfortunately, I didn't get it before 2 p.m.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to forward it.
the last minute stuff is hard to integrate into the meeting on the
As
day
you
of.
mentioned, what we were talking about is that brick patio. We just wanted to change it and put some different form of stone. It's a limestone. I think we submitted the sample and all that. It's a very heavy grade limestone, not really much of a change, and it's at grade, so it's barely going to be visible. In accordance with the Montauk Historic District guidelines, as well as the owner's strict intent on this, nothing is proposed to be changed on the house. What has happened over the past 30 years or since 1992, the non-historic windows, and I think there's 23 in our application that are proposed to be replaced. Those are Pella windows, is my recollection. So they are manufactured by Pella. They were special order windows. You don't get that pattern or whatever. So they were manufactured specifically for these. They really haven't held up well. This is a very harsh environment when you think about it being on the bluff over the ocean. I think I submitted a couple pictures. You can see the rot that is affecting these non-historic windows. None of these historic windows they're all being replaced with identical windows, basically the same fenestration, the same internal and external features, and the trim details will be identical as well. We're hopeful that the new windows will stand the test of time much better than the old windows. We've gotten better at building windows in the last 30 something years. I don't know if these incorporate, resin baked epoxies or whatever it is. But for all intents and purposes, they're going to be the identical windows, identical rough openings, identical in appearance. Everything about it is going to be the same. The doors are all replaced. These are all non-historic doors, meaning they date back to 1992. All of the original windows and features on this building remain exactly as they were from 1992. I don't know off the top of my head if some of the non-historic windows were replaced in that 1992. I suspect there had to be some on the south-facing facade that, and there was no historic district in 1992, but I'm pretty sure these windows are nearly identical to what, that's why they were chosen and selected, is Roberta Gosman Donovan wanted everything to be done the correct way. So although these are non-historic windows, some of them may have replaced historic windows back in, 30 years ago, but we're replacing them identical to how they exist today. And I know Bob Hefner at the time when he was doing the district was very, this is one of the standout houses that had most of the original elements. Perhaps a single change that we do propose is the removal of the railing. There's a railing on that south elevation, and the south elevation on these properties is the most important elevation for the architect's vision at the end of the day.
Julie, can you bring that picture up, please?
There's a picture that shows it. I think the picture you have now shows the railing removed, but I did submit pictures of it with the railing in it.
Is it in the plans or in the photos?
I saw a photo. Both. There might be even a side-by-side on the plans that we submitted.
Yes.
Frank, you
Thank
should,
you,
you
Frank.
should operate the smart board. Just do it from there.
Yeah, so if you look at the south facade in your plan,
Oops, that's right. I have this one. I have this one.
no, that is the, nope, that is the north elevation.
Is this the one that you're looking for?
That's the one.
Julie, this is what they're looking for. It's not the photographs, it's in their submission. And the railing is here on the first floor. So you've already removed it.
That's
right?
correct. It was, we think that the railing might have been added because it was required for building code. Building code says if you have 30 inches of grade change, you need to have a railing with an opening no larger than 4 inches. But if you look at the original photographs of the residence, it was never in place on the residence. And it really is a dramatic change to the facade viewed from the south side. Whether it's an improvement or not, it's not historically accurate. So they're the side by side. That's the railing. The original, I guess the balustrades
Yes.
were original. It's these railings that were not original, and they're proposed to be removed. There are historical photos of the house that show that that railing was never in place. And the way we can do it legally is by adding that step feature, because that will reduce, you know, under the building code, your height to adjacent grade is, and it won't affect, you know, most people won't even see that because you're going to be looking at it from the water or what, you know, the south elevation. But we think it's a dramatic improvement of the overall structure and makes it more in conformance with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I have it here. Could you bring up the historic photos, please, Julie? They're before that, I think. I'm having trouble finding them.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe they're.
They're kind of a.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that is a historic photo of south elevation.
Can you zoom in on that, please? Because it's hard to see from here. Yeah.
Great. That's the south elevation from the
Yeah, it's kind of like
from the east side.
Yeah, it looks
yeah.
like they're standing to the east side,
Yeah,
and that is from the you know, the southwest side.
Right.
You're kind of looking.
yeah, where you drive up. Yeah.
So it doesn't appear also to have the larger vertical ballast, you know, the.
Yeah.
I believe it is
They're
actually.
there, they're white.
Well, I see a lower portion. Well, no, but if you look on the left of that, just left of where you just indicated, that other side doesn't have that taller portion. So just left of the tree, left.
I think it's here. I think this is actually
going to the
corner of
other side?
house, and you can see it in this.
Do you mean
Aren't they
the
on
other
either
of the
side?
porch?
Are they on either side?
Aren't they on either side of that entryway?
Yeah, beneath the gable.
So
That would
just-
make sense. But
The spindles
Yeah.
of
Right
the,
here,
yeah,
the spindle screens.
here.
Yes. So on either side of that,
That's
yes,
the-
exactly.
That's the east elevation. We're
Mhm.
talking about the south.
I understand, but I'm just wondering if that's echoed throughout the, and I don't have the other picture in front of me to see what it is now, but it seems to be in every single panel. Whereas in that photo,
That's-
it's not. And that's 1975, so I guess that could have been removed. What I would like to see is actually a watercolor that I think Mr. Andrews did that shows the house. That would be great.
Do you have a watercolor?
I mean, we do have a.
Isn't this the west side, Andy? This isn't the east side. It's the west side.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you said
southwest.
east, so I just, yeah, the other side was from the
East side.
southeast, yeah.
And that looks pretty accurate to our
Yeah,
proposed. If you look at the same elevation in our drawings, it shows the dormer, it shows that railing, and it shows this entry with the two frames, and it comes around on the front side. So I think
it goes.
our existing and proposed are identical to what you see in that photo.
Oh, I see.
That's what I'm
Okay.
questioning.
Ah, okay.
See, it's here, it's here, it's here. It wasn't there in
What you would
1975.
call it, yeah.
It's a spindle screen, like it's a spindle screen that goes all the way up
Right.
on either side
That's
of those.
replacing that ballast, whatever the.
And so it was,
pillar,
yeah,
yeah.
it's there now, correct? It's on the
Mhm.
top.
Yeah.
That's all, I'm just,
Yeah, no, that's an
these are not as
interesting-
old is what I'm saying. So clearly
Right.
that element was removed and then put back.
And put back at some point. Although the front, you know, we're more concerned about the south, you know, I mean, that's what I
Well,
was.
I'm speaking to that also. It's part of
Yeah,
that.
it's through the whole thing.
Mhm.
If the south facade has that,
It was removed throughout the house.
yeah, you can see it on the south facade too. And
Yeah.
even on the second story.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's removed on the second
Can you
story.
bring up the side-by-side photo again, Julie, from the applicants? Oh,
What was removed?
yeah.
So I'm just
Yeah, that is. that's-
showing this is like in 1975, those elements had been
Right.
removed. So what I would like to see is documentation,
What was the original to
earlier
begin with? Yeah.
documentation, if that's possible.
Well, they were either removed or they were never there in the first place.
That's my question.
So
I think
Yeah,
there
I
were
guess
spindle
my
screens
question to
because
this-
the guidelines do include them.
My question to this is, are there original architectural drawings for the house?
I think they were lost in
Never
a fire.
documented?
I think they were lost in a fire.
The best source of information for most of this stuff, where we got most of these photographs, the Montauk Library, I believe, is where we got those.
So the earliest documentation we have of this is 1975.
There has to be earlier.
Yeah, there has to be.
There are earlier pictures somewhere.
There have to be, but I didn't find them, and I don't think the town has any in the historical documents.
Okay.
I mean, in general, I like the idea of removing the lower railing, more in keeping with the historic
Well, I think my question would be,
nature of the house.
what
I
is the
think,
original?
right
If
now.
this is 1975 and it doesn't have that spindle screen
Yeah, I
that
agree.
you see here, then what is
Right,
the
was
original?
I still don't know that can I see?
May I show you here?
Yeah, sure, that'd
It's
be.
his submission, yeah.
So yeah, this is your submission. So you can see this part, this element, and it's on the upper level as well. Where's the upper level here? Oh, gosh. Sorry, I can't see. Okay. And up here on the second story, these have, oh, she took it down.
Can you leave it up, please, Julie? We'll tell you when to take it down.
These elements, the spindle screens, okay?
Yes,
They're not in the 1975 photos.
I think they are.
No, look again.
No.
No, they're not.
No, they're not there. You can see it pretty clearly on this side.
There is something there.
Here, look here. There's space.
That coming around. I think it's
And the second story shows it pretty clearly in the 75 photos. That would just
Yeah.
be my question as to
Yeah.
what is guiding
No,
us.
I understand. I
in the
mean,
restoration.
yeah, I think that's the whole problem is what are we comparing it to?
The spindle screens are mentioned in the original.
There's, so for the Andrews house in our guidelines or in the
Yeah.
town's guidelines, it does indicate the second story sleeping porch, which is also on the Benson house. So I believe that's that element. And then it just talks about the kinds of railings, banisters. So it just says turn posts and box posts, spindle screens,
Mhm.
brackets, open balustrades, and shingled balustrades. So they're all the
Uh-huh.
different elements.
Right.
Right,
That's
so-
J1 and
so-
2 of the Appendix D that we were talking about before.
And it does refer to an
Right.
early watercolors of the house by Andrews.
I think I have seen those, but they're not.
Well, they're not,
Yeah, they're more
they're an artist's interpretation.
artist interpretation.
How detailed are they and what do they represent? I'd like to see, but there must be earlier photos.
The many porches are one of the principal character defining features. The porches convey the relationship of the house to the environment, to the Atlantic Ocean. All the houses have broad porches across the front facade, many of which wrap around the side walls or have projecting bays. Andrews House and Benson House, as Vice Chair Leonis pointed out, have second-story sleeping porches. What a nice concept to sleep out on the porch, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The porches
That was
feature a
pre-air
variety of
conditioning.
turn, post, and butts.
It was
You don't need
probably
air conditioning
awesome.
there, I'm sure.
Spindle screens, brackets. Yeah, I mean, as a general principle, I'm not objecting to these things. I just, and expressed this earlier in the day in our pre-meeting that I don't know what I'm comparing it to. I would like a little more information on what the,
Unfortunately, who I'd like to ask is Robert Hefner, who I believe is, he was the one who was very instrumental in forming the district, and he's very
Right.
familiar with these elements. I don't know, Fritz, do you have any background on the?
Yeah. I mean, that's really, and then of course and determining which of the windows are historic and so forth, where's that inventory so that we can,
It's pretty
Okay.
clearly called out on that plan that
Yeah.
the ones that are highlighted are all Pella windows. Pella
Right.
didn't make windows in 19.
okay, so they have been,
So every original
they have been
window that is
identified,
remaining is there.
right,
You
so
can
they were
inspect them.
already They were already replaced, is what you're
That's
saying.
correct.
Yeah, okay. So we're a little late to the party here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I object to what's being proposed here. It's just to make an informed judgment.
Right.
I'd like to know, and we don't know what maybe is original to this, and I understand the comment about the prior owner who did the renovations when was he 92,
92.
that trying to be true to the original, I laud that, but I also, there's no way to kind of, from our standpoint of view and our responsibility, no way to kind of verify that right
Yeah.
now.
And we're
So-
trying really hard to refine our review of historic properties like this. And the Montauk Association is probably the most important one we have
Yeah.
because it's still so intact and it has specific guidelines. I know you
absolutely
appreciate that, Andy. I'm not,
do
you
know
know,
that the
yeah.
south facade, if anything, the reason I've been told, and everybody I've spoke to said, oh, no, those weren't part of the original construction.
right.
The reason why is because they detract from the architectural elements. They don't add to the thing, basically these porches, and maybe we can find credence from some of the other properties. Those balustrades that you're adding detract from the clean architecture. They don't add any relevance to the structure. I think that picture that just shows the clean line without it, I don't know about those side walls or the screen walls. I was made to understand those are part of the original concept.
Uh-huh.
But once again, I don't think they contribute or diminish the
Right.
importance,
Yeah.
but removal of the balustrades definitely is something that I think is important architecturally under the district. because it
Right.
does seem to be
I think
most
we
consistent
agree
with
on
it.
all these things, I think. We just need to find a starting point. So I think what we'll do is reach out to an historic preservation consultant. If it can be Bob Hefner, that's great. He's pretty much retired, so we may have to get somebody else to help us with this. But, and then in the meantime, I can get Joe Palermo's email regarding the NRSP, which was the other,
Okay, and I would think that
administrative piece
the
that we
best
need.
place to start might be the town's documentation.
Yeah.
They did the historic
Yeah.
district. I mean,
Yeah, I think
it's kind
we
of a
don't
shame
have
that I'm in front of the town that's administering it and you don't know. I mean, that's just the problem we have is
That's
how do
right.
we all get up to speed in terms of
right.
what it should be?
And that's what I'm working hard to do that. So, I take your observation very much to heart. And it's one of the goals of my, administration here is to get this all better organized.
Should be
and
a cookbook.
It should be. It really should be. I don't disagree with you, but presently it's not. So, and if people of, good intent who are trying to follow the rules, it's really hard to land in a particular place with the proper understanding to go forward. Generally speaking, I don't have any problem with most of this as long as
Right.
it's concurrent or that's the word, as long as it's compatible with what we know to be the historic features of the house. And right now we can't.
And I do think one of
Ascertain
the D4 guidelines in the historic
Uh-huh.
district is things that restore and return to original.
Mhm.
And that's what we submitted this and we have to then document.
Let me start by saying these are modest improvements and thank you to your, not putting in that pool was a stroke of genius. And, please thank the applicant for, because that, I think that's a gift not to have slighted that property in that way because the house is positioned exactly where it needs to be and there isn't a lot of flat land around it to accommodate much more. It's up on it's a quite a high knoll or whatever, the
Well, it certainly has
topographical.
prominence in the area when you stand there.
Yeah,
Look at it.
totally.
It's-
So I think that these are modest. I, as I have said a couple of times now, I really don't have any problem with that. I think the color selections are good. I'm not, but we need to fix in time what we're comparing it to, and then
Okay.
we can go
And I
forward.
do think, just to reiterate, I thank Tina for putting those guidelines in the thing. I think if you read the D4, which is actually the section of D4, and then it goes down from there, everything that we're doing is consistent with the recommendations in there. We're repairing and replacing with exact matches, using the materials suggested. If if you're going to touch any historic window, which we don't have any plan to, you should use the exact same materials, but
Yep.
we're not doing that. But, that is something that's bright light clear in the historic district
Right,
guidelines.
right.
And now the question is, well, if you're going to say we're going to try and restore it back to X, how do we document what X
Right,
is?
well,
And,
we'll need to get an historic consultant to help us unearth that piece of
If I could
history.
just submit, I mean, if it is
Yeah.
listed on the state and national register, that would have a nomination piece that would have all of the documentation about it should have about the structure. So
Well, that would be a
maybe that
place
would
to
be
start.
also
Yeah,
another
that
place
might be
to
a
start
place
in
to start.
addition to whatever Hefner.
I'm sure we can find something.
Mr. Hefner did.
One of the other things I want to mention is, after completion, there's pretty much no discernible change to the structure other than as we're talking about with railings, which once again, either add to or, the application, I personally think they'll probably be found to add to it. There's no grading. That's another thing that, the historic district, the grading is a big concern because once you start changing those original contours and how the property sits, then you have some serious concerns.
Won't run into any of that when you replace the patio, the bricks with the
No, it's at grade.
limestone.
It's basically at grade and sand.
Okay.
It's right
okay.
at grade. I did want to address in Tina's memo, the lighting plans, the fixtures that we chose, fully shielded. One of them did say maximum 60-watt bulb. The fixture itself is rated for 60 watts. We're happy to specify a maximum color temperature at 3000 Kelvin. That's kind of common sense. I don't even know if that's, basically the greater the temperature, the more blue the light is. We're not televising Monday Night Football. If you go to Monday Night Football, it's like 6,000 Kelvin. I don't think anybody in their right mind would want 4,000 Kelvin lighting outside their house. It's just a very glaring thing to look at. And these are, 60-watt incandescent, 300 Kelvin is fine. I can deal with the patio replacement in more detail because I did get that email and unfortunately I just didn't get it in time.
Yeah.
And I can show you exactly how it's going to conform to all the setbacks
Okay.
and not trigger an NRSP as well.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. So did you have any other questions for us? I'm going to reach out to Bob and see if we can. Sorry?
As I did say, I have the design.
Okay.
One of the design. If you have specific questions about,
Does anybody have any specific questions that you'd like to ask this nice man here?
This nice man. Well,
you don't know he's
Yeah, I
nice. He
just
hasn't
think
said
also these
anything. He looks
plans need
nice.
to
He
be
generally looks like an agreeable guy.
because this says proposed and this doesn't have those
Okay.
little things.
Yeah, well, that's not, nothing. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll send a follow-up letter. It looks like some of the plans need a little bit of, we have some,
Speaking of those balusters,
right.
the spindle screens rather, they don't appear on these plans either.
So that is a plan from Francis Fleetwood.
Okay.
From,
Oh, it's
Oh, okay.
historic.
So-
It's historic.
exactly.
It just
Okay.
has your date, the 2023 date, so I wasn't
Part
looking
of our,
closely.
our presentation.
Part of your
It's the last page.
package. Okay. Okay.
And I just want to reiterate that all the window replacements are indeed in the addition that was done in 91. So
Okay.
everything that's 30 years old, rotted.
Right.
Everything that's 120 years old is still standing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And apparently we
What
make
does that
better
tell
windows
us?
now.
Yeah, what does that tell us? Yeah.
Progress.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay. All right. We'll send a follow-up letter with the tick list, but I think you know what we need, Andy, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now I lost my agenda. Okay. Number 2. 3 Mile Harbor Housing modification, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-122-7-19 and 20. Julie, could you just bring up the submission, please? I don't think the photos that I took are relevant because this is to swap out a garbage enclosure. Okay, I've gotten myself fairly well confused here. This is for the affordable housing project that's up on 3 Mile Harbor Road. I'm sure you all remember this project. Very worthwhile project. I took a couple of pictures from outside the gate, but it looks really nice. It's set back in off on the hill. So we just need to look at the proposal for the garbage enclosure, which is part of the submission that we're reviewing today. Anyway, it looks like this. The approved enclosure was for a block wall with brick face, and they're changing it to a poured knee wall with a vinyl. It says brown fence. So now I'm a little confused. It says brown in the submission, but Katie sent a memo, I guess, that indicates this supposed to be gray. I think if it's gray, it's okay. I'm just going to pass this to you because you can't seem to find it. This is what they're proposing. Do you know the one I'm talking about, Julie? Can you just hold this up so she can see it? This is what we're looking for. That was in my packet. Sorry to grab that from you. It's a very modest change, and I think it's done in part for cost savings. I think the vinyl fence in gray will be actually a little better than the brick. I think it'll blend in better with the proposed architecture. Yeah, just show that
Sure.
to them. So they're proposing it in gray. This is the fencing. It looks like that. So they're going to just pour a wall,
So it's a poured knee wall is
Yeah,
basically
cement,
a low concrete wall, and then this goes on top?
This goes in front of it. That's my understanding. Not on top of it, but in front of it.
Does it match the siding of the
Why do
house?
they need the knee wall?
I think just to keep things from knocking it over. Oh, no, it is going on top.
Does it match the siding of the
Yeah.
dwelling?
The new color
Of the
matches
housing
the
I
building.
think the new color matches the buildings. I don't think it's exactly the same color as the building, but yeah, I think so. But it's matching. I think they're proposing gray because that'll match the cement.
I put up the siding.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. Yes, that'll go just fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to accept this modification to the, for this refuse container. Let me have a second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passed and carried. Well, that one went simply. That's good. All right, business signs, Sunday Fun Day, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-6-3. Oh, I should say that there was no representative here from the Housing Authority because Katie and her entire board are meeting at this very time. Ordinarily, we don't entertain applications unless there's a representative present for the application, but we did that at her request. And affordable housing projects are fast-tracked through the town's own policy. So we felt that that was cohesive and not against any of our rules. So just so we're looking consistent here. Okay, so Sunday Fun Day, 300-6-3-6. Diane, this is you.
Yes. This application is for 2 signs to adorn a charming ice cream parlor and candy store on Westlake Drive in Montauk, in that very charmingly commercial
Oh, you
area.
must be the, are you the applicant?
I am.
Okay,
My
would you-
husband is.
Okay, well, you're the representative for the application.
I am, because
Okay.
my son at the East Hampton All-Star game.
Oh,
Okay.
well, congratulations. Could you just tell us your name, please?
Nicole Meehan.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Welcome. Okay, Diane.
Yes, so the store is absolutely charming.
Thank you.
And this is an application for 2 signs that are in place. And they actually, there's one on the side of the building, that one, with the colored picnic tables, which is very charming, and the front of the building. The signs total exactly 32 square feet, which is our maximum, but they are in total keeping with the neighborhood, I think, and the space itself. I think they're very benign, and I think the spirit of the place is just perfect for the neighborhood. So
So,
Any
so these are the two single-sided signs on the building, and then there's the one that's on the street.
Well, that's a directory sign.
Well, not really, but yes, that one.
Well, that, I assume that was a directory sign.
David, we might need you on this. The size
It's at
tells
the
it all.
crossroads where, you know, where all the.
So the code has
businesses
a
are.
specific definition of the directory sign. What I will say is that under the code, the directory signs are supposed to have the name of the complex on the top of the sign, which is absent from this, I guess, freestanding multi-business sign. So this is not technically in compliance with the code's definition of a directory sign, but it still appears to be on the property of the marina. So I would say that it could count towards the 32 square feet possibly, if the board was inclined to approve it.
This is beyond the 30.
Yeah, they've already used 32 square feet with what they have on the
We
building.
did get that interpretation from Joe Palermo recently about directory signs or freestanding signs on multi-business complexes that were not directory signs.
Okay.
And he said that similar signs, but this one, were prohibited.
Okay.
Prohibited.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we have to
That means-
ask our applicant to either remove that sign or make smaller one of the signs on the building?
To accommodate.
It seems a
the sign.
shame.
How do you make it a directory sign?
We could make it a directory sign.
So how do you make that a directory sign where it doesn't count towards 32 square feet?
Well, the landlord has to participate in that, I think, right?
The
Because,
owner of the
No.
complex would have to.
Yeah.
The marina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
And then it's a specific size. It's 6 by 36.
Yeah, is this the right size?
No, that looks
I don't think
bigger.
any of these are the right size for a directory sign. This is a problem. This is not
It's not your-
particular to you. This
Okay.
has been a problem townwide where we have businesses that are trying to do what you're doing, but we don't, the code does not support this particular configuration of a street sign or something you might consider a directory sign.
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't conform, and it's not, I think you made a perfectly rational assessment to think this would work because there are other signs there, but
Yeah.
I'm quite sure none of those other signs have approvals. So,
I don't know.
yeah, no, you wouldn't know, and we don't really either. So we would have to, but we did have a recent directive from the building inspector, who's the final say in these things, about a different complex that had similar issues that
It's
As-
not quite the same though, because those signs were for other businesses that were in the multi-business complex that were along Montauk Highway.
okay,
right,
but they were
so
in
it
the
was-
right of way, right?
Well,
Like by inches or something?
No,
Well,
just
anyway,
that they could
well-
have it on the front facade, but they couldn't have a freestanding sign.
Okay,
in the
so what do
common area.
so how do we guide this
I
applicant
think
then?
that the board should consider. I don't know, this is the only sign that they're applying for? Is this one?
They have two on the
There's two on
building.
the building.
So I would encourage the board to focus on those because those can be approved. And then we could get back to the applicant with additional guidance because.
Okay, all right. So here's the thing. You're allowed 32 square feet of signage and you have achieved that with what's on the
With the
building.
two signs on the building.
Right, so if it turns out you can have the sign on the street, you're probably gonna have to make one of the signs on your building smaller to allow for that square footage to fit, but we'll find out about that and let you know. Now, if
And
we.
then worst case, can we just pull the one from the street and leave the two?
Yes,
on the-
exactly, that you could do that.
We mirrored what she had there. which is
No, it
why-
was sensible. I understand why you did it.
Full building also. So, you know, I
Yes.
think the ones on the building are more important than that one.
Yes.
Right, so, but we'll get back to you, but we'll consult the building inspector about what to do on this, and then we'll get back to you. But
Okay.
in the meantime, David, if we approve these signs, then she can always come back if she wants, if it turns out she needs to put the sign on the street. I just don't, we're not, she's not stuck with this approval, right? She can always modify that if she wants to. If it turns out that the sign on the street has to contribute and she wants to have one out there.
She's welcome to come back and apply
Okay,
for whatever.
all right, good. All right, so We'll just make a motion for the two buildings.
So, okay, then I make a motion to approve this application for the two signs on the building that total 32 square feet as submitted.
Okay, and should we just addend that the sign on the street has to come down?
Which is just not included in the approval.
Just not including the approval. Okay, great. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good luck.
Is that a neon open sign?
Oh, good question. We don't allow neon signs.
Okay, no
You have to
problem.
pull that. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Good luck. Have a good season. And good luck in the All-Star game. What position?
My son plays first base as pitcher.
Excellent. Wow. He's got an arm, huh?
I think
Yeah.
my family's at that game.
Excellent. Oh, boy. Go Bonnick indeed. Okay. All right. We're up to fences, walls, gates, and berms. Kevin Wong, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-118-1-59. Esperanza, this is yours.
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
Are you Mr. Wong?
Yes, I am.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
This is an application to proposing to extend the height of the deer fencing to 7 feet 6 inches. When I went to the property, there is existing fencing at 4 feet with what I think are 8-foot metal and wood posts. We can look at the survey, and you can please just describe exactly what you're proposing, because it was kind of difficult to tell. Your site is under construction and
Yes.
difficult to navigate. One thing I did want to note to you, in your application, you indicated there were no violations and no encumbrances. However, from the property card, I noted that there had been a stop work order that was issued February 16th, so that should have been noted on your application.
That's considered a violation. When you
Okay,
have a stop work order, that means you can't build because you're in violation of the code.
got it. Okay.
And then also, your survey indicates that there's, I think it's a 40-foot wide scenic easement along Hans Creek Road, as well as a reserve area that's maybe 10 feet just right on the roadside. That would be an encumbrance. So that should have been noted on your
Okay.
application, just
Yeah.
so, and you're aware of the scenic easement, but that's
Yes.
what that means.
Yeah,
is
so
that
just,
that's an
I filled out
encumbrance.
the application myself and I was not very clear about all of the terminology.
That's why I'm
Yeah, Julie helped me, but I think I stumbled along the way as well, so I apologize for that.
No, I just wanted to make sure you understood what those
Okay,
terms meant. The other thing is that when I arrived at the property, you are applying only for the 7-foot 6-inch deer fencing, but you do have an existing driveway gate with a call box that does not appear to have had any review or approval or a building permit. So that will need to be addressed as well. Okay, I think for the moment, why don't you tell
Okay.
us what you're proposing?
since you've been at the property, we have obtained our building permit. It was just issued on Saturday, I think, so it's now up at the property and posted. So what I'm proposing here is just to have the deer fence as shown on the survey at 7'6". What had happened before, so I had redone the driveway right before COVID. And in doing the driveway, I actually relocated the deer fence off of what was in the original survey from 2003. And that's what triggered all of this when I went to get my building permit. They realized that the fence was taller than the 4 foot. And then I was asked to take it down. So I've just now redone the survey with where you saw the line of the fence had been also cut down for us to get the building permit. So I'm just here to apply for the variance to get it back to where it was, but at the new line of where it's shown on the survey.
So where I saw the 4-foot fencing is where you are proposing the 7-foot.
Correct. And it's what's shown on the survey as well.
So, but on the survey, you also have fencing that is just right around the house and the pool. So inside that outer line, closer to your property line, there's another fence indicated. So what is that?
So I was asked to do that as part of me getting the permit. it's something I think the city has just asked all construction to do, which is a fence to protect the line where vegetation is. And it's actually, I think it's indicated on that survey, but I was
Project
asked to put
retaining
in.
fence.
Yeah, it doesn't indicate
A
that.
project retaining fence.
Yeah, that's, I think
What
that's.
you're talking about is that the clearing line is supposed to be staked on a survey. That's
Ah, the
submitted for-
clearing line.
Fence on the survey. That's why I was confused.
Oh, well, why would, of course
Why
you would
would I
have
think
been,
it
yeah.
was a project?
Okay,
for
so it's, David, would you just say what that is again? It's the,
So since last year, applicants for building permits with certain exceptions are required to submit a stake survey showing the clearing limit on the property.
stake survey showing clearing, but it's, so the stake, so these are the stakes that show the clearing.
I see. So they reflected here.
Okay.
I see what it is now. That says clearing edge, and
Okay.
that's where that fencing is.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that. It just confused me. So
Yeah, okay.
It confused me a lot too.
okay, so could we look at pictures? Yes. Thank you. All right, so that's from, I was in the middle of the road. So this is the view toward the
And that's the driveway
and the
gate?
driveway gate,
Mhm.
correct. You can go on to the next one. So that's the a picture of the fencing that's just inside the driveway gate to the right of the driveway gate. Oh, sorry. So I just took photographs of not random things, but you have uplights all along some of the trees, and those are not permitted. So I just wanted to make you
I
aware
didn't
of
realize
that.
that. Is that just on the front yard or also in the rear yard?
Anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't aware of
That's
that.
my understanding.
I thought there was a limited amount.
Uplighting though is not,
I
as far
thought
as
there
I
was a
know.
limited amount of uplight. I don't know. Well, okay.
That's my understanding, that no uplighting. but-
David, can you help us here?
Gosh. I don't, there might be certain exceptions, but I think generally speaking that uplighting is prohibited.
Yeah.
You
It
could reach out to the
confuses
planning
the
department. If you have a
flora and
specific-
fauna. Yeah.
Okay.
I know the trees lit up look very pretty, but it does confuse the
I see.
wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah.
and the vegetation. Anyway, so I think in looking at this, I understand you probably want the deer fencing to keep out the deer. And that's also going to serve as your pool fencing, I assume?
Yes, it is.
Would you be willing to bring it in at all? Because you're really enclosing your entire property. And so I'm wondering if you'd be willing to reduce the amount of enclosure that you are proposing.
Enclose the
I,
entire
yes,
property with-
yes. I just think I just need to understand where you would like me to bring it in because I think, where would you like me to bring it in?
Well, I think
How much,
in the
I guess?
rear, it goes
Okay.
all the way and you are already overly cleared.
Yes.
So I know that that's an issue and I'm sure it's I couldn't even get into the back and I'm sure it's just wooded.
Mhm.
So I'm not quite sure what your deer fencing, what the purpose of it is going to be, like protecting specimen trees or something like that. I would just suggest if you could bring it in
Okay.
a little closer. And then I'm fairly certain, I'm not going to speak for the entire board, but we're not inclined, we can't approve anything. We're not inclined to approve anything over 6 feet in the front yard. And I think that's what you're proposing is you would have 7 feet, 6 inches even in the front yard.
Yes, yes. And it was approved for that height back in 2003. That's why I asked for it again.
Who approved it?
I think we have it it's in the town records.
Do we have a property card?
Yes. In 2018, it says deer fencing, but we have no idea where it was. So, and what height.
Plastic
have it
mesh
up.
deer.
That's the
fences granted.
CO. Doesn't say what height. And plastic deer fencing is not. not acceptable anyway, so.
Two sheds each,
Mhm.
7-6 high deer fencing with setback
Oh, right,
20
okay.
minimum from the southwest property line. Per ARB decision just stated,
really?
legalize emergency
Didn't I
backup
miss that?
generator.
So the southeast property line is, hold on. Which is the southeast property line.
Says, yeah, granted, provided fences set back a minimum of 20 feet from the southeast property line.
Yeah.
The 2000.
Can someone help me with the southeast property line here? Which is your southeast property line?
So
I'm going to get confused.
That's
That's
north.
north. So it would
this
be,
is south. That should be,
okay, so it's
Yeah,
faced toward
yeah,
the street.
yeah.
Can I show you? May I have,
I
Well,
think we've got it.
yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
yeah.
Well,
That doesn't make any sense.
no, it doesn't.
Are there any restrictions on this property? Dan, did you get a chance to look that up? I mean, I know there are approvals here,
Yes, we looked through there was an easement with the original subdivision.
right?
And it didn't have any restrictions all in terms of where they were with so in terms of the rear, nothing could be built within 30 feet except for fencing and gates.
Okay.
And in terms of the scenic easement, it said as long as nothing's constructed within it.
Right.
But there was,
That's why
in
it's
terms of
here.
town code, it just had to be 10 feet back except for fencing.
Yeah, okay. It's because
But
the
it's-
easement runs along here, right? So this would be the,
So it's 20 feet from the property line? Is that what it said?
well, no. 20.
Yeah, southeast
Setback
property
20
line.
feet, yeah. Now, how deep is the easement?
This is, I think, 40 feet.
Oh,
Or no, sorry, 20 feet. It is
Okay.
20 feet.
so that's what,
Okay.
that encompasses the easement. I think
Understood.
That's the point of
Well,
it.
that approval was 2018? No.
Apparently, 2003.
Well,
Yeah.
that's long gone. Okay.
Suzanne Phipps Morehouse, plastic mesh deer fence granted
bit of
provided.
A lifetime ago, I know.
Yeah, we have a
Fence
bit
is
of a
20
different
feet from the
Yeah.
southeast property line, and then
approach these days.
then this is Hyatt, 2018, 2 sheds, and then the 7-foot 6-inch high with a setback from the southeast property line per ARB decision.
And legalizing.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a generator on there too, which I was going to ask about, but anyway, okay. I think I would, did we look at the picture from the road again? I know this is a really wooded area. The scenic easement is, intact. You probably won't see this fencing.
That may account for why it was approved.
Right.
Because it's very rare that you have anything over 6 feet. We don't even usually approve 6 feet for
Yeah.
the front yard. So that 7 feet is practically unheard of.
I understand.
Yeah.
But to your point, it is very wooded and it's so overgrown that you don't really ever see any semblance of a fence. I mean, even in the photos that you took, it was really hard to distinguish it from the vegetation. I've had the house for 5 years and I know also just the way that it's situated on the street and the way that the light comes in. It's always backlit except very early in the morning because you're basically like on the east side, I think.
Yeah, you're on the east-west.
Yeah, so it's
right.
you really don't see it.
Mhm.
Obviously, during the winter,
Right.
when the trees are deciduous, you do notice it, but most of the time, and I've actually, in the time that I've been there, I've added a lot more landscaping just around the area, just one for my own privacy, but also it's done the trick of also hiding that fence.
Then I think one of the things that we might recommend is a condition of approval that the landscaping would be maintained for that purpose. Because when you sell the property,
Sure, I
this
understand.
approval will survive
Yeah.
as it came to you, but it didn't come with a requirement to keep it landscaped. Thankfully, you are doing that of your own accord, but I think we should consider that because the idea is to make it less, make that visible impact, minimize that visible impact. That landscaping will contribute to that.
Mhm.
How tall is your driveway gate? I've neglected to measure. it when I was there.
I think.
6 feet?
Yeah. it's
So I was
six.
going to ask you, would you consider then 6 feet in the front?
Yes, if
And
that's,
then-
if
and
that
then-
is what you will approve, then I'll accept it.
Yeah, what else can I ask for? And then I would, and I'd like to hear from other board members, but I would really appreciate and think it would be wise to bring in your rear fencing.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're just enclosing woods.
Yeah, and I think so. One of the reasons I wanted to do that is the previous owner had, you can see on the survey, for some reason planted trees very close to the edge of the house, making the property seem very small. And one of the reasons that attracted me to this property was how large it was with how small the house was on it. So it felt like it was old East Hampton, it wasn't about the big house, it was about the big land. And I think the previous owner actually cleared the back with the intention of putting in a tennis court, which is very common in this area because all of the subdivisions are about 2 acres and many of my neighbors have tennis courts back there. I don't think she ever got to it, but it gave me a really great idea over time that I wanted to open up the area that she had enclosed and replant trees in the back so that my property would feel larger once you were in the backyard. And I can certainly move the fence if you might like me to do that, but I've already started the landscaping to create that in the back. So there is landscaping up against the property line where the fence is. So I planted about 40 trees there. So I would have to, I would have to move them. I would like not to.
You would lose them. You think that what?
And I mean, I just also look at the way that the neighbors that I back up to, they don't really take care of this part of their land, which I think is such a waste. Why do you spend all this money to have all this acreage? And they have trees that are dying and some have fallen onto my property. So the fence kind of protects me that way as well. So that's the reason why I had pushed it as far back as where you see it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Excuse me, Chair. I just need to correct my previous statement about the lighting.
Thank you.
Uplighting is generally prohibited under the code. There is an exception for tree uplighting, which is defined as lighting, which is used specifically to illuminate trees on a residential lot. The total amount of light from the fixture illuminating each tree should not exceed 1,000 initial lumens and shall be as close to the tree as possible. The light fixture as designed and installed must project all of its light above the horizontal plane and be aimed directly at the tree. The light source must not be visible from across the property line and must be extinguished by 12 a.m.
12 a.m.
Terrible piece of code.
Okay.
It's the law.
All right. Well, thank you for that correction, council.
I stand corrected. Yeah, maybe Diane, you'd like to say something about the fencing proposed.
Yes, I know the feeling about sloppy neighbors. I know that it's very disheartening. But also, if when you enclose the entire property, you'd close it off to everything, so. We always favor leaving some wooded area so that the wildlife has somewhere to roam. And I don't know why it would disturb your trees to move your fence. Why would that be?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Why would it disturb you said you'd have to remove your trees or disturb your trees just to move the fence?
Well, technically, I guess I don't have to, but
No,
it
the
just
fence
seems
is
like then
easy
the
to
trees
move.
like beyond my property. Yeah, and my sloppy neighbors, none of them have fences, so there are a lot of wildlife that go through all of their properties in the back.
So it sounds as if they are just keeping the woodland.
Yeah.
And that's not sloppy to me. That's just woodland.
Yeah, it's also what our code
needed.
directs us to do. It directs us not to have this walled in effect. I won't bore you with reading from that portion of the code, but when we send you your follow-up letter, I'll refer to it. But that's part of our charge, is to make sure that the community it's not just a bunch of little walled off enclaves, and especially in the wooded areas where, as you're driving by, the vista is deep and inviting rather than closed off. So I don't know. Is there some way, if it's the back, if you want the back, can you bring it in on the sides, bring it in the back a little bit and then bring the sides in? I mean, if that's, I just feel like this would set a precedent for this board that we don't do to approve a 7-foot, 7.5-foot fence for a residential property around the entire yard,
Right.
even if you were to reduce it to 6 feet in the front. And I'm really uncomfortable doing that because we push hard on these fences because it is very specifically, we are specifically directed in the code not to do this kind of thing. So I get why you want it. I have deer in my yard too, you know, we all struggle with that. But he has an approval. I guess that's part of our problem is.
Well, it's from 2003.
I don't know that that matters. If he has an approval, an approval's an approval, isn't it, David?
Was it built? So why was it a problem then if it was approved?
Has it not been built?
You said that you were told to bring it down.
Yes, because in 2003, the fence was in a different location
Oh,
where it is now.
Well,
So
then
the
that's-
approval doesn't really.
okay. So the,
Approval doesn't
okay, this
stand.
is, all right.
Because I think that that original approval did have specific conditions to it too, that
Yeah,
it be set
okay.
back 20 feet from the property line at least. And
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I think the property card referenced that the fencing had to be set back at least 20 feet from the property line.
Which
There
is
was
the
a-
scenic easement.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know that the board is constrained by that approval unless what he's proposing now is exactly the same as it was.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think that's why he's here. Am I wrong? You know,
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's here because he needs an approval for this new configuration of the fence and
At the
right,
height.
At the
at
same
that
height.
same height. So it would seem to me that we are within our rights to ask for it to be brought down. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. The board has the discretion to do that.
Or to maintain it at its original configuration? I don't know.
Which we don't know
Which
what
was
is.
less extreme.
Yes, that's my understanding. Why am I thinking it's this? Am I wrong?
It's- no,
not
that
It
wasn't
was
that.
never that?
No.
Okay. Okay, well, we need to,
We don't have the original approval, do we?
we don't. We have just the property card which describes it.
Can I, so what is do we know what the distance of the gate to the property, to the pavement is?
It's not indicated on the survey. It's
So-
not plotted, but the easement is 20 feet from, no, it's more than that,
It's 40, I think,
from
So-
the roadway.
from the road.
Yeah, 40 feet, yeah.
Pavement, yeah.
That's
What I'd like to know is
Might
what
not
can
be
the
quite
owner
40.
do, the applicant do as of right? So does the does the applicant have the right to build a 6-foot gate
No.
if it's at least 50 feet from the pavement?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, provided that it's the component of a fence that is treated as the
Oh, okay.
height limitation for the side yard applies if it's 50 feet from the edge of the pavement.
Would be.
So it would have to be part of the fence?
Mhm.
But it would also, it's not 50 feet from the edge of pavement, I'm quite sure.
It's more.
It is. This is 20.
This is the roadway.
The gate again is
Oh,
what height
okay.
right
I
now?
thought this
6
was the edge of pavement.
6 feet.
This
Okay.
is edge of pavement. Then
Okay.
there's the.
So I'm just
reserved
wondering
area.
if that's legal.
Yeah, I get it.
If the existing gate is legal or?
If the existing gate as built, which part of it has a component of a fence, it looks like, I'm not advocating
Yes.
for,
Mhm.
is
you
at
bring the
least
pictures
50
back
feet
up,
from the
please, Sue?
pavement, is that legal?
Another piece of code that.
Yeah, this is very confusing. I'm sorry this is taking us so long. It's really.
I think we struggle with that.
Well,
This
the
is
gate by
very
itself was a standalone thing and it was just 6 feet. Sure, but it appears that it's connected to some deer fencing, right?
Or it will be, yeah.
And so if that deer fencing is illegal or not allowed, then, that is also an issue. That, for instance, if it's the wrong material, then the gate would be included as part of that fencing because the gate is a component of the fencing.
Let's just wind back the clock here a little bit. Usually we look at a survey and it says existing and proposed. So you have already built this fence, but you had an approval for a fence that you have removed. So we have no way of knowing where that was on your property. Is that right?
Yeah, so this gate was existing when I purchased the property, but it was in the easement. So
God.
When the owner sold it to me, how she got the CFO is she simply removed the gate. So when I renovated the driveway, I took it upon myself to move it out of the easement and just basically reposition the same gate where it is now,
I see.
just outside of the easement.
Oh, that was smart.
Good.
Yeah,
So you have the common driveway that's described in the easement, but then you move the gate outside of the common driveway?
this is a common
It
driveway?
is a common driveway.
So this is where the gate
Yeah.
is here.
Yeah,
You
And
can,
then it
I tried to take a picture.
Gate,
Yeah.
gate, this is the
Shared.
common driveway.
okay,
Yep.
but the
And then
gate
once
is
you
not
move the gate there,
interfering with
no,
that,
I
is it?
No, not.
Yeah.
The gate
Yeah.
was over here before.
Oh,
The gate
got
was
it.
somewhere over
I see.
here.
So it was
The
outside-
driveway's new as well.
All right, so it seems like the gate is kosher, right?
Because all of this is
But
new.
it's not before us anyway, right? We're looking at the fence.
I
Can I
don't
see
think
the
that's what
sur-
David
so
is
the-
saying.
So the survey, so how far is the edge of the back part of the easement from the pavement? Is that
This is-
50 feet?
This is 40 feet, the easement. This
No,
is
the
about
40
10
isn't the-
feet.
I thought the
I mean,
easement
sorry,
was
this is
20
20.
feet.
This is 10, and then this is the edge of the road here.
But if this is 150.
This is 10 feet? That
This-
can't
well,
be.
I'm-
If
I'm-
this is 20.
Okay, like
It
maybe
can't
it's
be 20.
8.
If this is 150.
This is 20. I don't know what this reserved area is.
It's just 40 feet, right?
This is a 40-foot easement?
Do we
I
have
thought
that
it was a
language?
20-foot
Is that
easement.
area?
Because if this is 150 feet here,
The language that's,
Oh,
there's
the
no way
the
that
easement
8
is
of
40
these-
feet.
I had the
That's
file.
what I thought initially,
Yes,
but then
you are
somebody said
correct.
it was 20.
Yeah, no. I was saying it was 20, that the fence had to be 20 feet from the easement,
The easement.
which
No,
is
from the
not.
property line.
Well, I was saying 20 feet from I meant 20 feet from the easement.
Ah.
Because the easement is considered a structure. Usually it
But
has
see-
to be.
But see, there,
Yeah.
that approval that was from 2003 would make no sense because it says that the
Yes, I
the
know.
fencing should
20
be
feet
20 feet from the property line,
right.
which would plant it right in the.
Right, except,
easement.
but I don't know whether the terms of the easement include, does that make this the property line? Or is it allowed to have a fence in the easement? There are times when fences are allowed in easements.
And
What is the height of the fence again? I apologize, in the front, next to the gate?
It was 7'6".
Okay.
It's now 4 feet. It's
All
been
right,
cut
I
down.
think that,
I mean,
I'm not feeling like we're making any progress on this. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
we have
sorry.
to go back and I think we're going to have to go back and work with the planning department on this and just get a better history of this and find the original approval and the language of that approval so we can be better directed by what you already have permission to do before we, approve anything further or impose any other restrictions on you. It seems like that's the best way to go. This has become such a far afield
It's a
discussion.
Pandora's box of
A
layers.
little
of
bit, yeah, and I'm sorry that we're not better equipped to deal with it tonight. But the property card is it's given us some information, but we don't actually have the resolutions, which should be more informative. And this way we can also take it to the building inspector and get a better sense. Because I think what Dan, our planner, is telling us is that the fence cannot be in the easement.
And the
And
approval.
the approval indicates that it could be 20 feet, but I think that would be either the easement was made after that or that approval was made in error. Because, and that happens, it's happened to many of our boards over time. I think this one is yours.
Yes.
Where these requirements of various subdivisions are not, they're not consistent from subdivision to subdivision. Some easements permit fences and some do not, and yours does not. So if there was a fence approved, it was approved in error, and we can't sustain that error. We would have to correct it.
Okay.
But let us go back and see if we can unravel this knot a little bit.
Okay.
And we'll get you on as soon as possible. I know you've been waiting to get this done. We'll try to get you on for next time if we can
Okay.
get the information we need, okay?
So I'll have to come back to another hearing.
I'm afraid you will, yeah.
Okay.
And just to correct your notion, the Architectural Review Board has no variance power. You wouldn't be getting a variance here. We would just be approving or not approving something you submitted.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thanks for your patience. I'm sorry it wasn't more productive, but we'll get back to you as soon as we can. All right, we are on to item 5, D'Amelio, that's right, isn't it? D'Amelio Garden, Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-119-4-6, which has been postponed by the applicant. Number 6 is Victoria and Albert Carey, Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-87-3-2.2. This one's mine. Hi, you're back. Oh, you're recused from this? Yes, you are.
Sure.
Yep. 260 Old Montauk Highway. You're back.
Dan Thorpe.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
Yes.
Thanks for having us back.
What's that?
Thank you for having us back.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's our pleasure.
So I'm Dan Thorpe, landscape architect, representative for the client. I also have my associate, John Hamilton here.
Hi, John.
Here back in February for our initial presentation.
Yes, I remember you guys were great. It went really well. We had some confusing information for which I apologize. And now you're back. We have been directed by Joe Palermo, who's our building inspector, that we are only reviewing the gate tonight.
Right.
So I went out to the property yesterday or the day before and met the nice man who's helping to build it. Yeah, we don't need that one. Yep. Well, obviously it's so packed with work vehicles. It's very hard to see. Stop there a minute, please. Thanks. Okay. So that's the gate pillar that's closest to the road. You can see the retaining wall to the right. At some point, even though we're not dealing with the retaining wall, there was, the retaining wall was in the right of way. That was all cleared up with the highway department. We talked about that the last time we had this. So I measured from the outside edge of that pillar to the edge of pavement, and it's 25 feet. So that was like a moment because I was worried about that. I was worried about it being in the right of way again. So that's great. If you could just go to the plans, Julie, and show the gate that's being proposed. This pillar measures 70, I have to check my notes here. I think it's 75 inches, 74 inches high, and it was 8.5 inches wide, but the builder told me another 3/4 of an inch would be added to the volume. So it'll be 9.25 inches wide. Yes. So that's the gate. Now, the plans indicate that this is 5'10". I thought you guys were going to come back with a shorter gate. Weren't you going to do that?
Transparency.
The transparency. Is this 50% transparent?
55%.
55%. Okay.
To be exact.
To be exact. Okay. Okay. So this is a 5'10" gate, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's just 2 inches under 6 feet. And it is in the front yard. Part of the confusion here was that we directed the applicant that they did not need our approval for a gate in the rear yard, mistakenly advising them that the front yard is the ocean side, which is not the case. Our code is a little confusing in that oceanfront properties work the same as anything else, and the Stillwater properties are not like that. So we all learned something there. I'm sorry it was at your expense. Anyhow, this gate will be perpendicular to the road mostly. It takes a little bit of a, little jog to the east. I don't know, 15 degrees, something like that, would you say?
Yeah.
And I think that it will not be visible from the road. I think the 55% transparency is okay. I would prefer it was a little more, but I'm not I'm inclined, because of the length this has taken and the expense that the applicant has gone to approve this gate as submitted. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions. If you have something more you would like to add, please feel free. Okay.
I have a question.
Please do.
So you were indicating that the pillars are going to be wider.
Mhm.
But I think you had said something about they were 74, but they were being reduced to like 68 inches.
Yeah, the builder told me it would come down to 6 inches. So
They
that
get cut and capped.
cut and capped.
Yeah.
So what's the height of the pillars ultimately?
It'll be
It
the same.
matches the gate, 5'10".
It'll be 5 feet 10
inches.
to the gate.
With the design of the gate.
Yeah.
We really focus, it's 50 feet back from the street as you come around the curve, a little shy of that 46 feet
Okay.
from the edge of the street.
Oh, you mean as you
come around the curve.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, that's not how we measure it. But
Right.
yes, I get it.
But sightline distance,
Yeah.
and then it's down elevationally
Right.
2 feet from
Yep.
the edge of the street. So
Yeah, the whole thing is built into the bluff. It all goes
it's
downwards.
rotated perpendicular.
Yeah, if
to
you
the
can
road.
maybe find some more of those photos, Julie.
It's also very densely planted.
It's very densely planted. I don't think it'll be visible from the road, frankly. You might see it just briefly as you're heading west on Old Montauk Highway if you glance in, but you would really have to look in to see it. Maybe this doesn't show that. That's the southernmost pillar.
Flipping through.
Yeah, I tried to take something from the property. Oh, go back there. Go back to the one before it there. See if you just stop there a minute. See, that's a car going by on the street. You can hardly see that. And that's the pillar that's closest to the street. And I'm standing roughly where the gate would be, or a portion of the gate would be. So I really don't have any problem with that.
All right. So I'm still not exactly clear with the dimensions you gave me of 74 inches versus
What I
6
measured,
inches
I
less,
measured the pillar.
5'10".
Okay, well, the builder told me 6 inches less, but these, that it doesn't comport with the plans. So
it's
I
really
think,
4 inches
I
less.
think it's whatever 74, whatever 5 feet, 60 plus 10 is 70. Yeah, so it'll be 4 inches less. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
70.
Yeah, the difference of 2 inches there.
Okay. Yeah, well, I would love to see more transparency as well, regardless of whether you can see this from the street or not. There's just such a proliferation of driveway gates that impede vision everywhere that I just
No, I don't disagree.
prefer.
Can you show us the rendering, please, Julie? I don't think the rendering is the same as what you submitted,
Because
though.
the
What is
and-
that rendering? Or the photo? Yeah, if you can enlarge that. That doesn't look like
There was another, or
it's missing some of those horizontals, I think,
Yeah.
right?
and I
Can you enlarge that?
And I understand the spirit of the code to keep like the open vistas for the public. And
Yep.
so when you first turn off of Old Montauk Highway into our driveway, you still, because the gate's around the bend and turned almost perpendicular to the street, your open vista is still down to the ocean
Mhm.
because of the elevation change. So if there ever was a case where this is not really in direct impact of the public vistas and getting that deep view down to the ocean, this is one of them. So, and I know it's not the board's fault that we, well, I don't know, but the builder did proceed with
No, I
building the
understand.
gate, which is
builder
why the
proceeded
piers
with-
are
yeah,
out there.
on advice that
So
we
we're not-
received from us in the planning department. I understand that. So,
And we did go back and revise it to the
Mhm.
55%.
okay.
And moving forward, all gates we bring in front of you will be very transparent.
Well, we prefer 50%.
It's on record.
It's in the minutes.
Diane, did you have any questions?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Okay.
Is there a call box?
It's an automatic gate.
There is a call, I think there is a call box, right?
Oh, gosh.
Probably 8 feet in front of the left gate pier, typically.
There's a call box within the property, yes, on that.
Okay.
It's not a window.
Okay. Is it on the plan?
Yeah.
It's on the detail 4.
I'm sorry?
It's on detail 4 of the.
Detail
element.
4.
Yeah, David, if you scroll that up, just pan up. There you go.
Is it on the survey? Oh my
Right there.
gosh, yeah, I had trouble with the survey. Ah, okay.
Oh,
All right.
it's not the survey.
What is that? Well, it needs to be on the survey, which I cannot read.
That is teeny.
Yeah, this survey is so
Do
easy.
you have the survey there that you could blow up or zoom in on, Julie, please?
Is it on the survey? That's our only, I mean, it's required to be on the survey. That's like,
Yeah,
a thing.
okay.
Okay,
It's the most official document.
yeah, like we need that.
Can it be a condition of the approval?
If it's not on it already, yes. Do you think
We
it's
did
not
submit-
on
It's on
there?
the submitted site plan.
Say again?
It's on the submitted site plan.
Yes, but it needs to be on the
Survey.
survey.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah. I can't read this survey. Can you enlarge that, please, Julie? Yeah, thank you. Wow. You're getting there.
So here's the driveway?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's the gate?
I don't see it on there.
Okay, so you'll have
On
to,
there.
okay, okay.
Building permit comes our way, we can make sure it's on there.
Yeah, well, you won't get your C of O without it. So, and
Make
we
sure.
really shouldn't be approving it without it, but I would make it a condition of approval.
Thank you.
If, do you have anything else, Mooney? Diane? Okay, and I'm going to make a motion to accept this proposal. This application is proposed, and the condition of approval would be to include the call box on the survey before a certificate of occupancy can be issued. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Diana, you're voting in favor? There's only 3 of us. Frank is recused, so. Did you say, I'm so sorry, I didn't hear it. Okay, all right. Go in peace.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Good night.
All right, good night. Okay, now we're going to an extension of time for the Peconic Land Trust. I think this is mine. Is that right, Julie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-149-3-3.4. This is to extend the approval of a, oh my lord, of a barn that was built on the Peconic Land Trust building at 293 Town Lane, which is on the Balsam Farm land. The appropriate forms have been submitted. The approval was issued in 2016. I don't know, there was a lot of mess with this. The planning board approval was issued until November 18th. COVID restrictions came into play, so the approval is very old and they are looking for a certificate of occupancy. The building's been built. We're going to issue a C of O today, but it came to my attention that the approval had expired. It was 4 years out of date. So we have to pass an extension of time for that approval before we can make the C of O valid. I'm making that motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, agricultural overlay, Wayne Scott MTS Holdings LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-196-1-23. Dan Scotty, I see that you're here, Mr. Scotty. Good evening. I'm well, thanks. And you? Good. And Diane, this is yours.
Okay. Well, we have before us with this application another extravagant new build on Wainscott Hollow Road, maximizing every possible standard and interpretation of the code with every imaginable amenity. So on some of this last visible open acreage, in our perhaps most rural hamlet of East Hampton, Wainscott. The main house is proposed at 7,359 feet, the pool cabana at 918 square feet, the spa terrace at 3,150. The gabled roof that's to the maximum of 32 feet. The total lot coverage is just 33 square feet short of the maximum 24,000 square feet allowed. Plus, there is a huge, fully tricked out lower level or basement with 4 bathrooms, a media room, a billiard room, several bunk bedrooms. The first floor has 4 bathrooms. The second floor has 4 bathrooms. That's 12 bathrooms on what was once agricultural land that, of course, didn't have any
bathrooms.
No bathrooms, right.
Or it was one big bathroom.
It
was one big outhouse.
Yeah. It is promising that there are no gigantic windows or fenestrations, and the yellow cedar shingles and the brick chimney and the trim colors are all very much in keeping with the feel of the older part of the neighborhood. But everything is maximized in every sense. And I think what I think is disturbing, with the one house that has been built already, that we risk this line of new homes becoming like a really high-end suburb. And that's really sad.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
The house that's there already, I have some pictures, but they don't show much. It looms there on the horizon like a, I don't know, like a misnomer. And now there's going to be 3 more or 4 more of them. This house is, I appreciate the thought you've put into making it sort of compatibly quiet in appearance. But of course, well, there's the one that's been built. It's not quite finished. And I'm not sure, is that one 32 feet high too?
I think
Did we get them to?
No,
That one's
I don't think
32.
that was reduced. I think it's 32. And this is the lot that's closer to Wainscott Hollow Road?
No, I think it's on the other.
This is 2 lots further in.
Yeah.
That's lot 4.
So not the last lot in, but
Third lot.
This is the second to last. That was lot 4. That's 32 feet height. This is lot 6.
this is lot 6.
Correct.
I see.
This is lot 6. So,
6, no.
it's long and deep and it's filled to the brim
And it will have pool, tennis court, all of that.
oh yes, everything you can imagine is in this house and on this land, everything. So, and ultimately there's going to be 5 houses
On this side.
on this side.
Yeah,
So
that's,
it's,
yeah.
right? That's where I'm at.
Well, I have one question, and we've dealt with this before, and forgive me if I don't remember what the answer to this question was, but as part of the subdivision, public water and ground utilities and a common driveway are all supposed to be installed.
None of that has happened.
And
Yeah,
none of
from my
that's-
understanding, that's the responsibility of the developer. And it's a condition for getting a certificate of occupancy, which is what you've stated to the other applicants in the
Right.
subdivision.
Okay,
For example, lot 4 and also lot 7 that was before you last month.
right,
Yes, there are some open issues, but those are
okay.
not a condition for granting ARB
No,
approval.
I get it. I just wanted to see where that was.
Yeah.
Okay. This project, the subdivision. Common
Right.
drive.
Are there any great rooms here? Just I'm trying to keep them bearing ceiling heights. Is it sort of comes into play of massing?
Yeah, there are no great rooms. Happy to review ceiling heights with you. These doors are set at 8 feet. The ceiling height on the first floor is less than 10 feet. It's like 9.8.
Yep.
And the second floor plate height is 7'6". The doors are only 7 feet tall. So in comparison to many other homes that have been before you, there's far less glazing on this than might otherwise appear. You're just seeing windows and doors, but you have to take into account the fact that they are not 10 feet tall curtain walls of glass. They're double hung windows with 16/1 light cuts. There's no great rooms. I mean, and this was a negotiation with our client. Our client, obviously everybody likes high ceilings, and we explained to them that there's 32-foot height limitation. And yes, it's true. Everything, all the numbers that, Diane, thank you for that summary, and all the numbers that you went through were all perfectly accurate. But it's important to recognize that we took care to graduate the building height and cascade it down on the gable ends. So for example, can I approach the screen?
Yeah, sure.
If you look at, can you zoom in on?
Yeah, can you bring up the different elevations, and we'll just look at the elevations sheet by sheet?
If the ceiling heights are low, what? How does it?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't get it.
Perfect. Okay, that's perfect right there. Maybe the one that has the full front elevation to the left of that. There you go.
I mean, I appreciate the sensitivity that has gone into this and what you might have, what the client might have wanted. You know, I appreciate that this is, you know, it has you've put a real feeling in, and you have tried to deflect everything that we are going to object to. You know, I see it and I feel it, but
it's still really big.
This is the second of 5 of these houses, and
Yeah, I question why I would want to live next to another, you know, so close together. Really, it feels very crowded there.
So to address the height issue, there's 32 feet in elevation in this main body of the house here, but then it steps down a foot. It steps down all the way to 26.5 feet on this roof line. This roof line here is 12.95. Above it is only 25. Then it steps down to below 11 for this flat roof connector. And the inspiration for that was buildings like the one we're standing here today, where it's a simple gabled farmhouse. This is a 5-bay farmhouse connected to another gabled structure by flat roof volume, which is what we've done here. And then this garage, which has been incorporated into the volume of the main house. So if you're looking at the square footage of the main house, you have to consider the fact that we're not doing a detached garage. That's another 600 square feet that could have been built somewhere else. Brings the square footage way down from what you would otherwise think. So in terms of what's at 32 feet, it's only 28% of the length of the roof line. Only 28% of it's at 32 feet. If you do a weighted average of all of these roof lines, you're at, what is it, 22?
22.7.
We only put, you know, the square footage of the second floor that was necessary to get 4 proper family. And then the rest of it, we graduated down. We also varied the materials that are being used for the facade. And Diane, thanks for recognizing, you know, we're using Alaskan yellow cedar, which you see all over Waynesdot. And we go back to that original. Oh, that's good. So we graduated the materials. So you'll have Alaskan yellow cedar in the main body of the house. And then on the volume that's on the west, we are using barn board vertically and horizontally painted with this beautiful railings color from Farrow and Ball. The trim is not a stark white, but a soft Cape Cod gray that's meant to sort of blend in with the weathered cedar. And the cedar wouldn't be treated, it wouldn't be painted or stained, it would just be left to patina naturally on its own.
What is I'm having trouble understanding what the program is and the connector between the garage and
this is the garage here. The garage doors are on the east side. Right. This connector here is actually the mudroom. It's the mudroom volume.
Okay.
This little hipped roof structure here is a laundry room.
I see. I can't see that so well from here. All right. So there's actually 2 units there.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
okay.
laundry volume sits slightly proud of the connector, which is the mudroom. And then moving to the west, you have the dining room, front entry, and then you get into the sort of the guest wing, the first floor guest wing of the house. That's what's on the front. And then this is the primary bedroom suite on the southwest corner, and then you have other bedrooms.
Yeah, no, I see it here on the plan. I just didn't understand I couldn't tell from looking at it from here. I mean, I think part of the problem I'm having in terms of the massing is that there's so much across the front, the front facade. Would there be any, I mean, I know that let me backtrack and say, I agree with everything that Diane has said. I think the materials that you're using and so forth and the number of windows, you've clearly taken into consideration the things you've heard us saying in the past. And I'm grateful to you for that, because it's not always the way, we often are butting heads with people. But we're meant to be reviewing massing and, how this is going to fit into this local community. And I think that Diane's point, which is an excellent one, and one I hadn't thought of in quite this way until you articulated it today, which is in making this subdivision and having houses of this size, it's just going to be a bunch of them, a string of them, and it's going to look it's got this weird, I don't know. Pardon?
I was saying, my concern is not necessarily the house, it's how the house fits in with what else has been built and what is on the table. There's another application on the table. It's not been approved, but there's another application for the lot next to it.
Can you just scroll down a little, Jewel? Just scroll down a little so the one at the top. I'm sorry, I guess scroll up to the top. Sorry, I said the wrong way. Yeah, that's a good visual for me right now from what I'm trying to say.
The concern I have,
if you would please. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Kind of echoing what Kathy is saying, is that so the view across the field, which is south, I guess like southwest of here.
Yes.
Which is kind of like visual. What I'm concerned about is how this compositionally is going to be seen by the public. My concern would be, and I don't have an answer of a yes or no right now, but my concern would be that, and it's almost like no fault of your own, which would be the fault of the first development that was built. And we don't know what's going to be built between your lot and the other one. But it's safe to assume that the pattern of development of these lots is house on the north side, like outdoor activities, pool house,
Right.
Pool to the south. And you look south, it's sort of natural, where you put that program south. And the concern is that if the massing is pulled close to or at the setbacks compositionally, not just this one, but the way it fits in with the composition, is that you're going to end up with this long massing sort of just shortly interrupted.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, that's what we're grappling with, was the composition of, it's not zoned to say, this lot the massing should be here, and this lot, the massing should be further south here. It's kind of how it's being developed. And that's a concern that the board is having. So I'm wondering, like, one way how do we mitigate that without you having to go back to really the drawing board, which is something that, given, I think that you have come up with, I agree with Diane's sentiments, what other people said about the sort of the merits architecturally of what you're presenting here. So perhaps,
Just about the design of the building is.
Could you just come closer to the mic, please, sir?
Yes. Raymond Renault, architect.
Thank you.
So one of the things you'll notice about the building that we've designed, is there are no gables facing the front roadway. We were very sensitive
Or
to
the reserve.
or the reserve. We felt that,
Mhm.
you know, to a softer approach would be gables that are facing the side yards. In fact, you really don't see many of those gables because of the reduction and setting back of the volumes. So the scale is being broken up by those setbacks and, you know, even the colors and materials at the same time.
What I was getting at,
just want to point that out.
because you're going to kind of see the outline of, and you know, you're using a different color palette on the right wing. I'm going to call that like the west wing.
Sure.
I'm just throwing it out there. Like, if let's go to like the first page, the site plan, page 1, and kind of zoom in on it. Yeah. Just give a little bit of zoom there. A little bit more. So the one massing volume, I'm a little worried how it's going to tie in with the rest, is the one west of the main living volume, which is the 2 height. This is the double height, which is, it's 2 stories. It's to the roof. It has its own roof, right? It's to the left of the main roof.
6.5.
With the hip roof?
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, if you were to take some of the upper floor massing, I don't know, without looking at the plans, and like put that down and move it out into the lawn, that would sort of reduce the visual massing at that lot line. It would lower it, and it might make it more palatable to the board. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, if you're, and again, I'm not saying you need to do this, but I think it's working on the east side, which is what you've done there. You've lowered roof lines and you made a lot of 1-story volumes. Is there a way to reduce the massing of that? Redirect, replace, not replace, but move to another location, the program on the second floor of that wing, to where that.
Oh, here it is.
That's the primary
God, it's
bedroom,
so
so
tiny.
that's not something that we could.
Can you say that a little louder, please?
That's the primary bedroom, which would essentially,
Yeah. The other thing is, we're sort of
change the
respecting
client's program.
the rhythm of the street, given the lot 4, what's already in construction in terms of distance from the street. This is in line with that, so that if you're looking at these properties as you come down Wainscott Hollow Road, this 2-story massing that you're referring to would be blocked by the other house. Whereas if we were to flip it and have the massing on the east side, it would be more visible from Wainscott Hollow.
Would be lower though.
It still is pretty low.
26
It's only a 7.5-foot plate height on that
26
second
and a half
floor.
feet.
I have a question that goes back to the original subdivision requirements, because we had this problem with the other building. They had particular setbacks that were not classic to the zoning, code. And are you aware of those? And we know that these setbacks are concurrent with the subdivision criteria?
Yeah, we studied this with David Zaskas.
Yes, he was a
Because
surveyor. for the
we went
subdivision.
back and forth with the other building a number of times because of, the subdivision required something different than the setbacks.
Yeah, which on the tennis court
Tennis court.
actually pushes it further from the reserve.
Okay,
Typically, you would be allowed 30 feet, and I think we have 50 feet.
okay,
And that was particular to the subdivision.
okay, thank you. That's the thing.
So what that
trying to-
actually does is kind of push the tennis court further into our building,
Yep.
minimizing the ability to develop, behind the front yard setback. So we really have to kind of stretch this program out along the front facade. You wouldn't have a lot of space, between a tennis court and the building, if you did that.
this dimension presently.
So in an effort to maximize the green space and the open space.
You know, I understand your point. I mean, I think the problem that I'm having basically is that the front facade, it's just building all the way across from edge to edge. And I recognize, this is acknowledging, the design is, I don't have any problem with the design. I think the fenestration is good. The materials are good. I just think there's too much of it. It just seems like too much massing along that point. I was wondering if there was some way to break the garage, put a separate garage in and eliminate the mudroom or find a different place for the mudroom so that there would be a break in the visual. This is not the best visual here. Can you pull up the front elevation for us, Julie? I think it's the northern elevation. I mean,
I do like how you don't have, how the garage doesn't face the street. It's not a snout house,
Yeah.
as they say.
Exactly.
But I'm thinking if there's a gap in
Is there a
here
way?
more, is there a way to just?
We did try, there isn't enough depth to do a detached garage, but we did try.
Well,
I guess my comment overall is like, is this just a way in which you can,
well, that's what I'm thinking too.
you can move off the
Getting that
west,
here just to.
the west lot line? Because you're like, you appear to be like 35 feet from the east lot line. You're right set, you're comfortably not anywhere near your principal setback on the east. But you're kind of right up, you're within a couple of feet on the left. And it would,
We did shift everything to the east with a minimum turnaround distance for that garage. So 35 feet is a 3-foot privet hedge with about a 32-foot distance of turnaround, navigating that entrance to the driveway. So we did start by pushing everything to that easterly property line.
And because we stepped the roof line down, we're several feet away from the pyramid issue.
Yeah, and also pushing the volume further back. We pushed it back as far as we could.
I mean, is there anything you can do with like the volume of the connector piece with the mudroom?
That's what I'm
that would-
suggesting, yeah.
So that's
It
really
would-
that's a real program.
Say again?
That's, unlike in other projects that have been presented to you, sometimes a connector is just an architectural visual thing to separate two volumes. This is actual program. That is their mudroom. It's intended to look like a breezeway, a connector, but it's the actual mudroom.
Right. I'm trying to suggest, is there a way that's not something that's like not so, that doesn't require a change that would push push us off the west lot line a bit? Because my concern is if you're right up against your principal setback on the property line, it's not an issue if it's a field, right? If it's like an ag reserve. My concern is another house is going to go up there and they're going to be like, right like this. Now,
They're already going to be.
we could be, whenever that, maybe that'd be the next architectural review board would say, that's too much, like we can't have, maybe that restricts the next property. I don't know. But I think it would maybe make the board more, it sounds like more palatable if there was a way without having to really shift around program, that if you maintain the architectural integrity of what you've done here, but just
A little smaller?
find 6 feet
Yeah.
off the lot line.
Or
more.
Would help.
more. Yeah, I think even more.
Like if you lost one, could you go from like, what is it? I don't know what connector piece width is there.
10
feet.
10'9".
So if you lost 3 feet on that, I mean, that's not that much, but architecturally, like, is it that much to lose 3 feet of the mudroom in one of those windows, full height windows?
Isn't there any way to bring it around the back more?
Isn't there any way to just shrink the entire composition, which is truly Massive.
Yes.
There are certain proportions that work for functionality. The garage is currently 24 feet deep. That's a typical two-car garage.
There's no question you gotta have a garage and a turnaround that works.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing from other board members, is there a way to make something of the program of some of this large house to find 6 feet, in the overall width?
I don't know if that's going to make it.
It's not going to make or break it for me.
Substantive difference. I mean, I think everybody's.
Just imagine these 5 houses.
It's a wall of houses.
This wall of these facades of houses, as nice as it might be.
I feel like we're being penalized for not being first.
No.
I don't think that's it.
I think that this is I don't know. This is much friendlier than the house that's there now. It's much.
No, it's. I mean, yeah. This house is.
It's like a Tim Burton movie. It's like, I mean, what is it going to? How is it going to look? Think about how it's going to look.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Just reading this.
Yeah, I mean,
No, the entire
the way the
development of all of the
Yeah, I mean, that's
properties.
part of what
It's
we have
planning,
to
right?
consider.
I understand.
It's not just your individual lot,
Right.
it's how
Right.
it will look.
So we pulled it to the front of the lot in part because we wanted to have tenants in the rear yard, but also it gives them a longer view. It gives people in the community an open view. They're not planning to do, huge plantings on the reserve side. There's no driveway gate being proposed. There's just a 3-foot hedge across the front as a buffer from the driveway to the street. And they really are great clients. And we've been working with them for several months to try to present something that is going to fit within the community. We understand the square footage is not insignificant, but we really did take a lot of time and care to design a home that appears much smaller in mass and scale than it otherwise could have.
Well, we recognize your effort, and I know that you're dealing with a client, but part of I think the feedback you're getting here is that the massing is too much. It's just too much massing. And that is our purview to
I hear what you're saying, and we respect you all very, very much. But I almost feel like we should have shown you an earlier version of what we had, because I feel like we've taken so much time to get to this point where we did shrink the roof lines and graduate and step down and change the materials and reduce the fenestration. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that, I can hear what you're saying. I hear you saying to me, we worked really hard with these guys. We tried to I understand that's what you're saying. And I think we like the design. I think we like the materials. We like the fenestration. What we're asking is, can it be a little smaller? That's what we're asking. And it's,
I would say a little is.
I think it should be
qualifier I
small.
wouldn't
Okay,
use.
yeah, it should, that we'd like to see it be smaller, that that if the whole of it, even though you've done it tastefully and you've done it thoughtfully, it still presents as a big horizontal mass on that along the street. And my suggestion was to isolate the garage. If there was some way to remove that, those rooms that were connecting the garage to the house, that would, I don't know if you can swing that around, can't design it for you. I'm just.
The elevation that we're looking at here.
Yes.
There's only one family in Wainscott that's going to be able to see this, and that's the lot 7.
So speaking
That's not
of
true.
that, do you have it's the whole, it's gonna be visible across the field?
Well.
That
Look
elevation.
at the rear elevation then. Let's look
We've
at
been
that.
talking about the front elevation for 20 minutes, and it's really only one
Well, it's the whole mass, you read the massing from both sides.
Yeah,
For
the
me,
massing from the rear.
again, I'll
isn't
go
that
back.
much
It's
And by
better.
the way, there's an ag reserve just across the way there, and I've
Appreciate that.
been through there, and you can really see this area. You can see it even from
Very,
Sarah's
very
path.
visible.
This is not unvisible.
to me, again, I'll go back. It's the somehow it's the massing of the bedroom of the master suite
On the west side.
that on the west side it's like, it's making it, I would, if that were somehow put somewhere else, where even it was brought down, I think it would reduce the massing of the length of that, because you'd be stepping down. And it's how that's read across the field. And I realize you don't see it much right there, but that's a deciduous tree that it's going to be barren in 6 months. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's just that master bedroom volume kind of up close to that lot line from a massing standpoint of view that I'm having an issue with.
Do you have the site plan that shows the single driveway that serves all the lots, 4, 5, 6, 7?
We have that as part of the.
Yeah, subdivision map or something?
Well, yeah, because on the property card, it just says that, no CO of any construction until common driveway has been constructed in accordance,
Right, CO.
4, 5, 6, or 7. So, and that says that those lots share a single common driveway as shown on the map.
It's shown on our site plan.
Yeah.
Did I see that?
It's really the road that's on the north side.
I mean, is there a way, just like looking at your plan, is there a way you can move the master bedroom into the main volume and like move the desk downstairs?
Not without
Move the office
reducing the
downstairs?
program.
The desk. It's like, that's a
Sorry,
big desk.
but like that office space where you can redirect the program, or you can fit the master suite into the main volume?
I think the idea was to put the owner suite on the reserve, give them
Privacy.
Much needed privacy.
Well, I'm not saying put the bedroom
Yeah.
on the north side. I'm saying, is there a way to rearrange, to look at that program?
I think what you're doing is just generally shifting the volumes on the second floor more towards the center of the envelope, which
Right. What I'm also saying is that
doesn't necessarily change.
I'm hearing pushback from the board in general about the elongated weight of the
Understood.
massing. And I'm just wondering, is there a way that you could, again, that's just my view of like how to, I don't know about other board members, but is there way in which you could take that like master suite volume,
Are you talking about
and
this
just,
here?
even if you're adamant about keeping that
This?
scale of the house
This.
somewhere, just
And that's it from the
that
rear.
second floor volume, I think would make a
If
big
it's swung
difference in
this
terms
way,
of
then
how
that
it's
changes
visually read.
Yeah,
I don't have an answer to it, but
that'd be better. I still feel like it would be better than the break.
this,
I apologize for not being responsive on this. It's just, we know what we've
lower
gone
like
through
that.
and
yeah,
what the sort of program wish list is, and we're.
sure.
No, I understand. You're between these two forces that you guys are, you've got to be responsive to your client and you have to be responsive to us, but we have to be responsive to the community. And the community has set standards
Yep.
and we're appointed to, hold those standards in place. So I have a lot of empathy for you. I used to be married to a builder. I get it. I know how that works. So it's difficult. But I think that Frank, so you're suggesting just taking this
If
off.
there was a way to
Yeah.
just
I still
move
don't.
that
Way to
program
move the
around.
whole
I just
thing
feel like
back.
the whole thing is.
I mean, does it have to be this 50 feet that's from the tennis court? Did you say that?
Yeah, that has to be.
It has to be 50
Yeah,
feet.
that's one of the, well, I think they added a little bit, right?
I
Didn't
mean,
you
it
add
seems
a
to me
even,
if, like,
played with the
cushioned it.
length and the width of the tennis court to
Uh-huh.
maximize.
Undersized, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, so that the house wasn't in the same exact plane as this house that exists already.
Right.
'Cause it looks to me like.
That's one
Better
element.
to keep it closer, because if you push it back another 30, 40 feet, whatever it is, 20 feet, it's going to be more visible from Wainscott Hollow.
I don't think the problem is that visibility because it's still big, no matter if it's 20 feet forward
Yeah,
or
I
20
don't
feet
think
back. That's the
right.
least of it.
I don't think that would affect its visibility from Wainscott Hollow, but I think what Diane is suggesting is that it's a very suburban look, which isn't our look here, to drive down the road and have all the houses right up against the front property line. It's not what we do. It's not
Granted, this is not a public street, but it's
correct. But the point is, it's the look and feel of that, and that this is ag overlay, and we're meant to be. And you've got all the other pieces right. I want to keep emphasizing to you that you have many, attractive design features here. I just think I think it's just the mass of and I say mass with relationship to the size. It's the front facade stretches. It feels like it goes from property line to property line. And I know it doesn't specifically. And I see what Frank is saying about the second story on the master suite. But I still feel that even if you took the second story down, you still have that first floor look of building that stretches along the road. That's what I'm having trouble with. That's why I was suggesting I know the mudroom is part of the program. I'm saying if you could eliminate that and make the garage freestanding, I felt like that would help. But I don't know what other people think about that idea.
I think anything that breaks up the massing is.
Well, that was the reason I was suggesting that. And I don't know if it can be swung to the back rear of that. I forget what else is there. It's the laundry room, you said, I think, right?
It's the laundry room is the grayer.
Yeah,
portion
the
with
higher
three
roof,
windows,
right.
yeah.
But if they can, I don't know, I have to look at the.
I had a question about the 32-foot roof height, and you were saying that the doors and windows and such are not, oversized or tall, or and that the ceiling heights are also not tall. So what accounts for the 32-foot height in the center?
So we have a 7-on-12 pitch on this roof, which is very pretty, and it's very consistent with what you see in the older turn-of-the-century farmhouses in Wainscott. And one of the dead giveaways for new construction, I think, is when you see a flat roof line. So, we wanted the 32 on the main body of the house so that it looks like it's that at least that portion of the home has been there for 100 years. Like maybe this was the first farmhouse on the land before everybody else built around it. I get that it obviously it looks like a new home.
Well, not only that, but there's no farmhouse that would be of that size. So I think that's a misnomer.
Flatter pitch on the roof would not be as aesthetic.
Right. So if it were a much smaller volume, then perhaps the 32 height wouldn't be as dramatic. This is what I'm getting.
I mean, it's also the fact that we didn't face any of the gable ends to the reserve.
Right.
Makes the 32 feet, whether it's 31, 31 and a half or 32 is kind of irrelevant because from 3/4 of a mile away, you can't tell.
Atypically, I have less problem with the 32-foot height. I don't mind the 712 roof pitch. I'm having trouble with everything in this horizontal plane. I know that you've stepped it back and it isn't all like right in a straight line, but it still looks that way. And if there's any way to break it up, I would segregate the garage. I mean, you could lower, I take Esperanza's point. I would not be unhappy to see there be smaller massing and a lower roof line on the main body of the house. But I think if the whole thing could just be brought down in size and you could somehow break up, I know that you've done what you can design wise to break up the massing in the traditional ways by different colors and different roof lines and setting the master suite back a little bit. I know you've used all your artistic tricks to do that. Yes, tools, all your tools. And so I want,
Background.
Yes.
yes, no, I want to acknowledge that. No, I want to acknowledge that because I know this is not easy and I'm not trying to make it hard for you. But I think this is part of what makes this job hard for us is that, we have good faith actors coming to us representing a client, but we're like, there's too much of it. There's the massing
I
is
would
too
say
much.
The colors are a nice touch to
Yes.
de-emphasize, but then what happens when this owner or the next owner decides that, oh, we want the whole house to be white?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what happens?
That's
It
part
would
of
have to come before the architectural review board.
Clearly that would be the case, but often not.
Right.
But still, you have this very massive construction that's going to be then, how do you mitigate that?
Yeah, I think I think we're just going to have to ask you to come back with something that's got a little, I'm sorry to do it to you. I do have empathy for you.
We appreciate that.
But-
We will take your comments
Yeah.
and go.
But if you would just, see if you can. I mean, I think, most of the main elements are probably, I don't know, just kind of.
We understand what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
I do want to manage expectations though,
Yes.
because we're so constrained north-south
Right.
that from the front property line to
Right.
the setback 50 feet on the tennis court, if we could push this back and have a detached garage, we would do that.
Right.
We would have that.
Remind me again, sorry, the tennis court limitations again? The-
Limitations on this property are 50
subdivision.
foot from the reserve.
What's that? Oh,
It's a
okay, that's why
subdivision
it's not,
requirement.
it's not twice the
Right.
accessory.
Right.
Did you submit the covenants and restrictions
I'm sorry?
for the subdivision, the covenants and restrictions for the Wainscott Hollow subdivision?
I don't recall.
Well, that's why we were asking about the survey and whether it was clearly marked on the survey, what the different setbacks were as per the CNRs of this subdivision.
It's marked on Saskis's survey.
Was the surveyor for the subdivision.
Yeah, he did the survey for the subdivision as well.
Okay, well, we've had some
We've
problems
had
with
the
some-
same surveyor do the same.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
So we
marked,
just want to make sure
We know the
because
issue
we
behind
went through those gyrations with the last, with a different applicant. So let's just make sure the CNRs should be attached anyway. That's just a requirement of the application so that it's clear to everyone. Okay, I thank you. I'm sorry that, we weren't just all cheering you on, but we both have hard jobs, so.
Thank
It
you.
would help, I would say it would help me to, I don't know if this is a burden on the applicant, to see like where this fits in massing wise with the other properties, right?
Well, only one of the houses is built.
Well, there's only one.
There's been one, I mean, there's one that's been proposed.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you
That would
look
be
at the rear
interesting.
elevation of this against lot 4, I think you would be pleased with what we're presenting.
Maybe we can find something,
Lens and
find some way to,
massing. It's not as stepped.
It's
Demonstrate
definitely
that.
better. We've all said, like,
Yeah, no one's
everyone
throwing
said
this
that,
out on the
and
curb.
I'm adding to
you
that.
know? Just,
And we don't want to throw that applicant under the bus.
I'm not speaking to
But,
the architectural, merit of the other house. I'm just talking about the mass.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, we don't want to throw them under the bus and say, well, they built this. This is Diane's, yeah.
okay, all right. this is-
But I get your point. I just think what we're trying to do is be much more sympathetic to this vista.
We understand.
It's a good way.
is there
And
anything,
that the property owner, they will enjoy that. And be proper stewards of this vista too.
I don't mean to drag it on. I just want for the benefit of the architects, designers, is there anything else that pops out to anyone that, I'm not saying that we are fine with it, but so they are aware of anything else that pops out that we haven't talked about, pool house or like, I'm not seeing anything, but
Generator.
I just, to avoid
Yeah,
playing on
generator
whack-a-mole, like,
or-
okay, we
Right.
figured out the west side of this, let's talk about the east side.
Right, no, I understand that.
It's hard to really go over everything with the limited amount of time, and we've already spent a lot of time on
Yeah.
this, so.
Yeah, I mean, we can take another look and include, I generally, nothing's popping out, but we
Yeah.
can't rush our evaluation of this. You'll come back with another suggestion and we'll take another look. I mean, we've done this before, you know how it works.
have.
All right, thank you. Okay, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Diane. That was great. Okay. Number 8, 99 Town Line Road LLC, Suffolk King, text map number 300-200-2-45. Care of Jonathan Austin. Are you Jonathan Austin, sir?
No. Actually, it should have been under Peconic Environmental Associates.
Okay, I don't have that on my agenda, so.
I believe Jonathan called.
Say again?
Have it corrected. It's
on the
Peconic.
revised agenda.
It's on the revised agenda.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I'm working from my old one, sorry. Okay.
So are we.
Yep, here's the revised agenda. Right you are. Okay, forgive me, my error. Okay.
And I'm Timothy Haynes, the architect.
Hi,
Hi, how are
welcome.
you?
Good, thanks. And you? Okay, so this is Esperanza's. She will review this and then we'll hear from you folks.
I'm just going to read from your very complete letter, which is basically your application, attached to your application, but I think it provides a decent narrative. This application for 99 Town Line Road involves the demolition of an existing 2-story dwelling and accessory structures, with the exception of the existing swimming pool, which is to remain. Then it's proposing the construction of a new 2-story single-family dwelling with attached terraces and screened porch, accessory building, generator, outdoor shower, and pool fencing. There's then the IA system, geothermal well system, public water connection, and associated landscaping and limited grading activities. Sorry, I'm going to then refer to the memo from our planner, Dan Gross, indicating that the description of the proposed structures, the single-family residence, the GFA is 9,869 square feet. The detached gym is 379 square feet. The screened porch is 509 square feet, and the outdoor shower, it's not indicated here. Oh, sorry, no dimensions listed, it says. The residence height is 29 feet, 10 and a half inches, and the detached gym is at a height of 18 feet, 2 inches. The description of the existing structures, I would add that there's a gravel tree bosque, Is that how you pronounce that? In Spanish is bosque.
Bosque.
I find this word very funny. It comes up all the time lately. So all proposed to be demolished with the exception of swimming pool, patio, and tree bosques, which are to remain. Did you have a question? I'm sorry?
No.
Oh, okay. And so I would like for you to take us through your presentation. I think that would be the best way to proceed.
Sure.
Oh, one last thing is, this is, obviously we're reviewing it, it's a agricultural overlay district. It is adjacent. It is also a flag lot. And so I took a photograph of the long driveway, which is completely hedged on both sides. I took it from within the property, and so you could appreciate the distance to the road. And we'll take a look at those pictures. Well, there you go. Thank you, Julie.
Right. There's no curb appeal, as it were, on this house.
Right.
I mean, I think there's curb appeal, but not that anyone's going to see.
It's not a public vista. Unfortunately, over the years, all of these expansive fields have been built on and hedged and screened, and so that's not left.
And all the tall screening, for the most part, on this property is not ours.
Right. It's neighboring properties, correct?
It's neighboring properties. In fact, looking south, much to probably my client's chagrin and their friends. And same landscape architect, they used to have, this house used to look at the ocean, which is probably why it was oriented and built the plantation type that they put up before was built looking that way. But then that friend put up 30-foot trees and took away all of that, which is part of the reason we're turning the orientation of the house.
Okay.
If you could just because it's important in a way to me, is start it with what the existing house is, because that was very much why this house kind of looks the way it does. So,
yeah, so this is the existing house, Diane was asking me. And I also, there was a picture of the window there, and I met Jeff, who's the project manager or builder. He said, I'm astounded that this home from 1998 is in such disrepair, frankly. I mean, that these windows are in the state that they are. But he was saying that it was in a fairly deteriorated state. There were mold issues and so forth. And that was, I suppose, part of the reason for sacrificing this existing young house.
There were two
younger than me.
There were two of them built. So there's a matching one on Hedges, I think it is. They were both all white. They were both identical. A local developer,
yes,
related to the properties you were just talking about, built the two of them.
Yes,
they were not particularly well built, and they were identical. And the client bought it and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well," he's like, "I don't really like the style, but I was married in Wainscott Chapel. I want to be in Wainscott. It's very hard to sort of find property here. So my idea is, let's make it as nice as we can. And maybe someday I'll build the house I really want here." And I said, "Well, can we start by putting natural shingles on it so that it at least tones down the sort of Tara effect to
it?" That's how it looked before.
This is from a couple months ago, the front and back. Just it does look like it belongs in downtown.
Right. Yeah, there was something similar to that proposed for Sayers Path at one point, and I just thought, oh my gosh.
It doesn't fit the area. It may be perfectly fine. It just didn't fit the area from his point of view, because
he's sensitive to the area.
He likes the area. So, and we just built him a guest house.
Yes, we just were there last meeting.
And in that one, I really wanted to pay homage to sort of the old Wainscott sort of barns that, the Lauders barns, et cetera, which are one of my favorite buildings in all of the Hamptons, is the sort of L-shaped barn.
That's the only one that's from Wainscott.
That's a magnificent
reconfigured,
structure.
But that's the only one.
I think the reconfiguration was not disappointing to me, but life moves on.
Thank you.
Life does move on.
So this big block of Atara was sort of what we didn't want to do. And it did face the ocean. It has all of these wraparound balconies, which make really not much sense for this climate. And the whole thing didn't make sense. But now he's got a 30-foot hedge that blocks that view. And sort of coming in down that long drive and making this big right to this huge sort of block of a house was just something we didn't want to replicate again. And it also feels there was a scenic easement at one point, so it's pushed way up against the sort of property.
There was a scenic easement and is no longer?
Yes, because he bought the property that had the scenic easement on it. Where the barn is the people that had all of this land originally, and it was removed when he bought that property.
There's no scenic easement on either property.
Right. Where you just visited
yes.
Those are the people that had all the land originally, and so when they sold
Toppings,
not the Topping farm, but they had this piece, I guess, and I think the piece that
Don't scenic easements carry with the land?
With the land, that's the first time I've heard a scenic easement goes away.
Yeah. So just a question.
No, it went through the lawyers. Let's put it this way. There was something that was tied to the family that went away, and it's all documented, et cetera. I know that
Do you have that documentation or?
Yeah, you'll need to submit that for us.
No, and we didn't go into it anyway. So I mean, we still kept the view corridor through in any regard because we didn't want to push that way at that point either. So the house, from our point of view, was to ramble much more because the other house was this one large block. And we wanted it to be primarily feel much more one-story than two-story. The old house had a 7,600, 5,300 square foot second floor. This one has a 3,700 square foot second floor. So we broke down the massing and sort of did a series of buildings that sort of tumble and connect, sort of, playing on a sort of Anglo-American manor house and cottage style architecture language that would really looking at some precedents in.
Can we see the elevations, please?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at that. I think it's good that we see how you've recited it, but I think we need to look
Time
at
to move to the elevations.
Should we go to the render? Do you want to do renderings?
I
It's a
think
little easier.
Yeah, the renderings would be better. Yes, thank you.
Right. So as you come down that long drive, and I think if you go and you start to veer to the right, this is what you see. So that the first two buildings are one-story buildings. It does mass up in the middle and then goes back down again to a carriage house in a U-shaped conformation. So as you drive in, should be the next one. Now you've made the turn to go towards the front door, which is on the left, and there is a carriage house, as it were, that's connected to the main house. And has a drive-through because I don't like to see the garage doors. So there's sort of, you go into a secondary court that has the garage door. In the front of the house, then turning, I think if you go one more, it'll be a dead on. Oh no, sorry, maybe. Oh, that's, okay, you drive through to the back court for where the garage doors are. Let's go through again.
It's very romantic.
Okay, so can you go back, I'm sorry, a couple so I can talk about the front. I was looking for that one.
99 town.
View what is the sign?
Let's see, view 3. Is view 3?
Yeah, I just found that.
Probably me, like, not paying attention to you.
There you go.
There we go. So in the front of the house, then in addition to try to mitigate that, we brought the roof line down and created an entry porch over the front door. So this is the main entry of the door of the house.
So the entry driveway is behind.
Sorry. You've driven straight down, you've come all the way down the long, and you've done a right-hand turn, sort of diagonally into the first court. We can, when we look at maybe Ed's site plan, that might be helpful.
One thing I'm wondering, I was just looking through the architectural drawings, was, what is that, sheet A300? Like, there's sort of, it's almost like a moon, it's not really a moon gate, but it's kind of like it, of the carriage house. But there's another gate that has like a peaked, oh, that's not a gate, that's a section through a one volume. Okay, sorry.
Do we have that in the package? Okay, we'll take a look at it in a bit.
Is this that I was wondering about? That's a section
Oh,
cut,
okay.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Yes. So you've got the.
Sorry.
That's all right. There's the very long flag lot drive, and then this is that gentle sweep around. So you will catch sort of a diagonal view, which is what we tried to capture in that one rendering.
I see. Yes, you're not seeing the front entry necessarily straight on.
You're not really ever getting that straight on view unless you park your car here and walk up to it. There's that beautiful thatched roofed house in East Hampton Village on.
Yeah, the Johnson house.
Yes, it's magnificent. And I was looking for a device to bring the roof down at the front door of the house without just the typical adding a porch or a pediment over it. And so I looked at that house. I didn't want to do a thatched roofed house because that's its own house.
Well, this has a very romantic quality about it, like that house.
Right. And
So if we go to the first page, oh, sorry, are you done?
no, we can go around the house let's go
Okay,
back
there's more.
to the renderings, I guess. Maybe.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, so that's the first parking court, let's
Yes.
call it that. And then this is the second parking court. So this is the rear facade, basically, the rear elevation. Of the
Side. This is facing south now. So this is facing what used to be the ocean, which now has the sort of
big hedge.
Yeah, the ocean's still there. It's just blocked.
This is the southeast corner of the lot.
And then this is sort of back of house, as it were.
It's to the left. It's in the landscape plan. Let it go back.
Oh, sorry.
Just curious. Like right to the left, just south of the driveway.
This is a little
landscape wise. What is that?
It's a
no, not that.
stone wall.
I'm wondering in the landscape plan.
I asked the same, you talking about the stone?
The tree? This is a tree. That's a stone wall. Are you talking about this?
That's actually stone.
It's just a grass court. What's this thing? This. What's that?
That's the Bosque.
Over here?
That's the Bosque.
And there are two
Oh,
existing Bosques.
What's a
They're
boss?
actually-
That. What is that?
This is actually just a stone, and I see that the stone surrounds a new bosque over here, well, existing tree bosque for me, so that's actually.
What's a
part of the
boss again?
The Bosque, it's just a gravel area with trees.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know if they're playing.
all the rage right now.
The same, that's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Sycamore and plane is the same. Yes, I had that.
I always thought in English
Didn't
plane
believe
tree
me.
was slightly different than an American sycamore, but maybe they're identical.
Platanus. Is that what it is?
So this part all is planted now and exists, and there's the equivalent of it. They're symmetrical. Right now they're symmetrical around Terra.
And they will remain symmetrical around not Terra? Yeah, okay.
Country.
This is now coming around the side. So this is an outdoor, this is a separate building. It's going to be a gym, I guess.
Just behind that to the right is the parking, the arch drive, yeah.
And behind this is the
parking
service
court.
as it were, parking court. Screen porch, we can keep going.
And that's the existing pool.
Existing pool, this is existing Bosque. This is, I think Ed's putting in a new Bosque there.
So 3 Bosques on this property, 1 on the other.
It appears, I didn't remember.
Like
COSC, boss.
Oh, it's a smaller one?
It's a 4-tree one, as opposed to an 8-tree.
Okay.
I have a question for you. Did you prepare this application?
I did.
So, you guys call it a dwelling instead of a residence? I mean, is that just semantics
I
or?
try to tell everybody to use it the stories. I hate when you say house, residence. So we try to say dwelling for the house.
Yeah, just the application with the proposed work. It says new single-family dwelling as opposed to
Residence.
yeah, okay. So it's intended to be a residence, not just a, okay.
Okay.
So this is, the pool fence is a hedge with a fence in this case here to keep it green. we can go on to what then this, I don't know, that's our next view as well. This is coming around the back of the house. There's the back of the house, which faces now east.
2-acre lot. Yeah.
I'm just showing the screening.
And coming back around the side of the house. Now, if you were going over towards the guest house. That's it.
Okay. Let me just look at the site. So one thing I will mention from the memo from the planner regarding mass and scale. So as we already spoke, we talked about the driveway access, which is this for this flag lot. It's a 500-foot access driveway. As we already spoke about, the public vantage points are not readily available. It indicates, as proposed, the property complies with permitted lot and total coverage requirements. Lot coverage, as compared to existing conditions, is being slightly reduced by approximately 177 square feet. And total lot coverage is being increased by approximately 1,836 square feet. Let's see, what else?
Is that because of these driveway courts or something?
I would imagine, yeah, and the busks and whatever else, yeah.
But do the busks count as coverage? I guess because of the
Yes, because they're
structure.
gravel and-
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, there's hardscaping there, right? Yeah. The proposed single-family residence size is approximately 442.6 square feet lower than that which would be allowed per the residential regulations. The maximum size would be 10,311.6 square feet, and the proposed, as I had said earlier, is 9,869. So it's just roughly 442 square feet below the maximum. So just wanted to provide that additional information.
Well, that all jives with the numbers I have in front of me.
Gravel to grass area.
And yes.
Where is the, you just mentioned the short hedge with the pool fencing, but here there's also an indication in the memorandum that there's a new 6-foot tall pool gate that is proposed. Is that proposed around the perimeter or?
I see one right here.
No, that won't be.
Do you have? Yeah, I don't.
There's a gate that's next to.
Yes, Ed Hollander had a conflict, so I have to put on my landscape architect.
Yes, we have to pretend we're working for Holly. That's what it's. The hedge, I believe, is 60 feet. It is 2 feet, 60 feet to the code, and then it's fencing is 4 feet, and then the privet is 78 feet.
And that's just that little area there?
The gate.
There's just.
Why is there a 6-foot height pool code gate?
They did this was 6-foot high gate because they want to check it.
Gotcha.
It shows on the
That's the that's that little accessory building
right here
where the gym or whatever is going to
and
go,
the gate's
correct?
right here, correct.
And then that 6-foot hedge is for the utility
The
equipment?
It's 7 to 8 feet tall, actually.
7 to 8 foot tall for what, the generator?
Then it drops down to, well, let's look at that rendering, because that may be a tall one here, and then this is the
Short
4
over
foot.
there.
That's a foot, yeah, this actually says 4 to 5 foot tall. This is very tall because it's a parking area, so this is 7 to 8.
So it's blocking the view of that
And lights.
backup house,
Mhm.
which if you go back,
Yeah, I don't, there was a little view of
let's
of
look.
the
and see.
windowless of that building
the
from the
one
back.
before, yeah, right
that-
there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the one, that's the taller one.
That's 7 to 8 feet tall, correct.
Mhm. Okay.
And there's actually another 6-foot high gate right here to get in the house.
Materiality wise, it's natural red cedar roof and side shingles, just weathered. We use the brick that we're saying for the foundation is the same that you saw that I used on the barn chimney, which is sort of a red brown, sort of tumbled, looks reclaimed kind of brick. It's sort of innocuous in my mind. And the flashing and leaders and gutters are lead coated copper, as are any of the, we have some sort of cut in dormers into the sloped roof, so they would be flat seamed lead coated copper. It's what we're using for everything. And the trim is white.
You sure?
Why? You're privy to my client wanted to look at some different colors. And
Well, I know that the color changed on the other house, so that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking, because
Well,
it was white there and it's not white now.
Right.
So I'm going to guess you might want to emulate that.
The client wanted to, and I did the renderings, and I said to him that I thought that the gray trim for the barn was more appropriate for the agricultural type building. So, because we used gray windows and we used natural trim, I think, over there. Then we used, where we needed paint, we used the gray, because I wanted that to be more low key and more agricultural. I find with the houses, and he ultimately agreed. First, he wanted black. I didn't want black. So we did that rendering and I knocked that out. Then it was between the gray and the white. And I find if you can go back to like the front, sort of coming to the house, there's a crispness that happens with particularly the red cedar as you go around the larger houses. My own house is not that far away, and one side turns black, another side turns the beautiful gray that everyone wants everywhere, which is why everyone's gone to Alaskan cedar. It's yellow cedar. But the old red cedar, the white always, it's sort of like putting on a crisp white shirt when you go out in the summer in the Hamptons. The white just zings it up. And when you start painting all these houses, I also said to him, everyone's painting their houses now, all these different colors. And it's sort of, to me, the old Hamptons was sort of red cedar and white trim in this area. And it's sort of for a reason. So I convinced him to stay classic. And it can get sad. I think the houses, when they get large and they get a lot of gray on them. I know gray, and there's also this restoration hardwareification of the world, where everything has to be gray on gray. And I just said, what? He's like, sold, it's white. So that's, yeah. Thanks for calling me out on that. Maybe that's more information than you wanted to know, but that's how
I love hearing the backstories.
He's been jonesing
It
for
just
the last 2
doesn't-
hours.
It just doesn't look crisp white here. That's why I was asking. It looks more cream.
It does look more, I do not like cream trim houses. This to me is Benjamin Moore White 01. It's sort of the classic white.
And all those
It is what
materials
we
are
use.
called out. I'm sorry, I
They
can't
are,
open them.
yes, and I had because I think I had
We didn't submit this, but.
we didn't submit it, but I did have the office just do a little cheat sheet of outside and exterior. So
yes.
I built the 2 little barns on this property. They didn't
Yes.
come with the property. I built those 12 years ago or something like that. And so that I'm emulating everything from the barns on this house now in terms of its
I was
materiality.
thinking now, somebody might want those rather than demolishing them. Why not trying to get somebody to
trying.
take them? Because that's one thing I did want to bring up is the sort of the wastefulness of
Yes.
this project is what actually initially.
They
Yeah,
are.
that raised all of our eyebrows.
They
and
are
we've
there
been-
for the taking. One of them's going to stay to be used while the project's going on.
Right, I know that that's the gym or whatever it is.
Right,
I
right.
understand that, but I think, and I just because I took a picture of that window that was so deteriorated, I was able to see inside, there are these really lovely, like wide wood floor plank floors. I just, to salvage anything, please, please,
Yes,
please.
yes.
It's such an important, we need to start doing that. And if you can, you should, because it's,
Yes, well, yes.
it's
I mean,
an imperative.
I was laughing earlier at your window because I'm working on a project of my own in Shelter Island because we like Shelter Island, so we bought on Sylvester Manor. We have the only private residence on Sylvester.
Oh, wow, look at you.
And
Holy
so
moly.
we're doing some fixing up, and we're bought all 18th century windows from a guy that we buy old materials. So we have a man, and I'm from Pennsylvania originally.
Got a guy.
You got a guy.
And we have a guy, and he trucks them up here. And we buy our floors, and we bought every window. He put together every window for the past year. So, and to your point, they don't rot.
Yeah, it's remarkable,
I mean,
right?
and it's putty,
Right.
it's real putty.
Yeah.
And I spend all my time with like Riley trying to say, no, I want it to look like a putty window.
Right.
And I don't want curlicues and things. Like I said, you know how an old window was made? It was like putty, and it was glazed. And when something cracked, they just
They
chip
it.
out the putty, they put a new piece of glass in, and it's not.
We did that at my mother's farmhouse.
So we are
50 years old.
And this client happens to love old, so we
well, that's
use
great.
old reclaimed stone. We use old reclaimed wood, and I'm the only crazy person that puts in 18th century windows, though, because no one wants them because of the energy thing. But you
do other things.
You do other things.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's not the.
And what they do to a building when you use old materials, what it does to a building immediately, A, it's just a good thing to do. But B, it just brings soul into the building, and it doesn't look.
Yeah.
Doesn't look
Granted,
cookie cutter.
these are not 100 or 200-year-old materials.
But still,
and you can't do it in this, but it's
Habitat for Humanity or whatever.
Still have a
it is that
useful
you-
life. Yeah. I think
right. Well,
we need to
we've
move this
taken all the
along.
hardware and we're reusing it. Like all the barn hardware that inside the house was taken out of this house, sent to finishers
That's
to
great.
make it the
Okay,
correct
that's
finish and
great.
reused. So all the kitchen pools
Well
are from the
done.
old kitchen, and we're doing.
Well, that's
We
good.
took all the
That's
light
great.
fixtures; they're in the house.
Great.
So
We also
Great.
have, if you look at the landscape plan, we have the areas where we're using the reclaimed stone too. We call that right on the landscape plan too.
That's great.
and we're salvaging some trees, et cetera, from the property. So I'm all for it, but
That's great.
I'm all for it.
Well, does anybody have it? Are you done with your evaluation or do you want to, I
Well,
don't want to rush you.
No,
because
not at all, but
these are
it's almost,
important things,
it
but
is
we're getting
important.
late.
And,
Yeah.
I'm always hesitant. I know that this is not as sensitive a location, if you will, as others that we review regarding mass and scale. And I know that this applicant, the owner, is a sympathetic Wayne Scott lover.
He is.
I guess it is large.
Can you see?
It's a large development.
The landscape plan that shows the tie-in between.
Oh,
the
The big one.
overlay
Oh, yeah.
area.
yeah,
And this shows you, can you bring it down a little bit?
yes.
Just shows like, and actually if you make it a little bit smaller.
Like zoom in or zoom
No,
out?
zoom out.
Zoom out.
This is,
There you go.
a certain client has this over here that, and there's also trees here. There's 30-foot high trees here, 30-foot high trees here. This is the only area, and then this is their guest house. So it really is tucked in back there. I mean, unless you drive in there, you're not gonna see this.
Yeah,
even
that's
from where
not,
you're-
Yeah,
it's not even my.
Yeah.
It's not about- Yeah, it's not the
I
point
just
for
wanted to
us.
give you a sense
No, we
of-
understand. Yeah, we understand. It's a long flag lot. That was part of the review. I mean,
I mean, what we're really trying though to accomplish is a very picturesque movement around this house.
I
If you
think you've
look at
done
it
that. I
driving in
think
it
you've accomplished
and
that. I
seeing
think
that.
it's lovely. I really do think it's lovely. I think the materials are nice. I like the way you broke up the different spaces. I like that the garage doors are to the rear. I wish it was just all a little smaller. I just feel like it's a big massing, but, and that's my, in concert with just a minute, please. You guys have been talking a long time now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a chance. I just feel that for us to be consistent in our critiques, we are asking for things to be more modest in size. I find this design much more palatable than most of the things that we've seen that are of this mass. We can't move in the square footage arena, but we move in the massing arena. And I think you've done very well with the massing, although I think some of the roof lines are high in certain areas. But I don't know what I would say to you. I don't have any recommendations to do anything differently. Are they 32 feet high?
No, it's 29, almost 30.
So then it
It's
must just
29,
look
10.
bigger. It must just look
I
bigger.
was gonna say, would it help if we showed the architectural elevation so you could see like where the 2-story as opposed to the 1-story?
No, I don't think so. I think the renderings were sufficient. I mean, if you'd like to go through them, I don't want to shortchange the review. I just feel like we've been, it's late in the day. We've been here almost 3 hours, and I don't have any particular qualms with this, except I wish it was all a little less big. That's all.
Yeah, it's one thing to look at this with these aerials and how it lays out there. It's a completely different thing to be on site. And when you approach these homes, they really do appear to be much more immense than they appear to look on this, this site plan that shows all this green space around, and the parking courts.
That's why the renderings are so
look
helpful.
big.
I'm having trouble, saying that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just
No,
I just
go
keep,
ahead.
sticking, because I think it's lovely. I think it's really nice. So I'm having trouble figuring out how to advise you to reduce the massing, because I like the way that you have distributed the buildings on the lot, and I think it's such an improvement over what exists. But that's not maybe the one to the right there, the carriage house. Yeah, that second story in the carriage house, maybe. I don't know.
I'm going to push back and say, the carriage house is large, but I think to me, one of the strongest things about this is there's an element of whimsy to it that is, I feel like, sorely lacking in what is built these days.
Very, yeah.
And there's been a real effort to do that.
Yeah.
I think you've made some really strong moves, like with that. I think actually this 1-story room you have here.
Yeah, it's charming.
The way you've broken up, created sort of, they're almost like these big outdoor rooms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's the architecture of the house, but the architecture of the landscape that I feel that I'm just sort of being complimentary here, that oftentimes it's like, okay, design the house and bring in the landscape architect.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a landscape and there's a house. And the house sort of is that blurs the line between what is the landscape and what is the house. You've created these zones in the way you go through the carriage house. I quite like it. Actually, my biggest concern and criticism is if you go back to the site plan. So I was thinking, how does this look from, it's tucked away, right? And so you've tucked it away. Now go back to this previous page. That's the satellite overlay. The big one. No.
The satellite
overall.
No, previous page. You were just on it. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, just pull it up just a little bit more until.
Make it bigger.
Please.
Zoom a little.
Oh, no, not bigger.
I want to show the whole page with the site, like the east, the north.
Oh, okay.
A little.
They have a life of their own.
Zoom in just once. Zoom in once. Okay. I like how it's actually sort of the building's tucked away. I mean, it's in the middle, actually, right of the site, and you're lucky that you don't have a long, narrow lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay, don't move this.
Oh, you want it?
Don't move it. So here's what I'm thinking: is that I think, what is this like seen from Main Street? And my criticism, and I don't think there's anything we can do about this because it's landscape, is that it appears that Ed Hollander has put up a big hedge, and I get the privacy, but my concern is there's going to be this massive long hedge along these two properties as seen by Main Street. And I think that's one of the nice things about Wainscott
There are still
is
vistas.
the vistas and how the landscape flows from lot to lot. And I'm really concerned about what I'm seeing here with
Which hedge?
Which hedge? Yeah, because
So-
Main Street already
No,
has a
other
hedge.
side.
Main Street already has a hedge and we're opening up the hedges.
It's on the east side, that one, and there'll be that one. Like
That's
on your
That's
lot.
already there.
That's already.
Continue it on,
That's bamboo, in fact, some of it.
Exactly.
continue on.
And then this hedge is already there too.
Yeah.
It's
So
already
can I tell
there.
you
It's
one thing?
really all
'Cause
very
my
enclosed. You can
Wainscott
show my
client
pictures.
has requested to remove this garden and this tree. Because like he said, what I like
It's open.
is just, I came here because I like
Yeah.
exactly sort of
Vistas,
what you're
yes,
saying. And
yes.
he's like,
I have that picture.
because I don't want that stuff. I don't need a garden outside my bedroom. I'm not going outside my bedroom to garden.
Because you would see.
Yeah, it's really very.
If it weren't there, you would see it a little bit from Main Street, like.
Aren't permitted in
further
the ag
east.
overlay? I mean, this is ag overlay
It's-
land. It shouldn't be. The vistas are part of the
Like,
governance.
my concern is that I wish that it's one of those houses I wish that actually could be partly visible from the street,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
openness. So again, that's a hedge that we can't stop, but I wish that the
This is,
owner were receptive to opening that up.
this is just so that what's the east, that's gonna be left and those trees are gonna be left. So if you look at the landscape plan, it gets bigger over at 30 because it's the neighbors. And then it becomes the bamboo.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Diane, did you want to contribute anything?
No, I like it.
Yeah. I do too.
It's a pretty house. Do you know what I
It's a
mean? It's a
beautiful
pretty
It's
house.
beautiful.
It has a charm.
It's lovely.
It's,
Yeah, you did
I mean,
a
I can
great job.
critique I can tell you what I like and don't like
Yeah.
about projects, but I mean,
That's
to me, this has a
No,
charm
it's
to it.
lovely.
This is- I was going
don't-
for a charm.
I don't disagree. Okay, well, Mooney, where are we on this?
Well,
one?
I'm just not,
You want one more time, or are you good?
I wouldn't want, I feel like I don't want to rush this per se, and I'm
Mhm.
sorry, but I just would like to make sure, I'm sure your application is fairly complete. We haven't even discussed the generator. So, I don't want to have to go into that now. So I just would like to know that everything is there, like your lighting specs, like.
Yeah, well, you'll need to come back for that anyway, and we'll have to review the generator and the noise outputs for the generator and so forth, so.
Do you have a below ground level, a basement level?
A what?
Actually, I have a
okay.
large basement.
Okay.
It's a storage, but I mean, it's storage. It's
Yeah,
partially,
I found that interesting. It's all mechanicals and like there's no
this client doesn't
Rec
believe in
room.
theater.
theater,
wine, no dog
ping
grooming.
pong.
Wow.
No, the only thing he likes is
There's only a
clean.
wine
So I
cellar.
think he's like, so you can, yeah.
No bunk beds.
No, he
because
can't.
there's a whole other guest house. You have to remember that this client.
But even in the house he's got there, he's like, basements are basements. I like them clean. I don't like them spidery and spooky, but I don't live in my basement. I come here because I want to be
Outside.
Above ground.
Above ground,
It's
yeah,
like,
okay.
and I would never put anyone who helps me with my, I mean, part of, he has 5, I think he's up to 5. He has 5 children now. Well, because they thought they couldn't get pregnant, so they used a surrogate, and of course,
Oh, my
3 weeks
goodness.
later, she got pregnant.
All right. Okay, well, this is all.
No, it's part of the reason we need is a
I
little
get
bit of
it.
room.
I get it.
And
Yes,
the-
I get it. Okay.
The lighting specs are in there. I'm not sure offhand if generator specs are in there. So
Okay, well, we'll need that, yeah, so we'll
the
have,
lighting, I know the
Right.
lighting is from Ed Hollander.
okay, so, let
From Ed
us.
Hollander? And what about on the house? You've
For
got.
the house, they Ed Hollander did the lighting.
Attached to the house, we have it as well.
Okay.
We will be doing on the house, and
Okay.
I think we've submitted lanterns, et cetera, but probably best because we've all had a long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Let's-
so.
I mean-
Only because the memorandum says, does existing and proposed lighting comply with board policy to
Right.
determine, I
I
just
think
would
it's too
rather.
late in the day for us to bite into that one if
Yeah,
you're.
no, I think so too, and
Yeah.
it'll give us a chance to go back and see, and we'll send you a follow-up letter if we find there's anything that we need,
Thank you.
anything
Yeah.
further we need. But thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you for the design. It was
Oh, yeah,
lovely.
Sure, thank you.
Really
Thanks for
lovely.
the compliment. Are
Okay.
always appreciated. We work hard at this.
I know, well, it shows. Thank you. Okay, have a good
Okay.
weekend. All right, on to certificates of occupancy. This is a record-setting meeting, folks. James Petrie, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-187-3-5. Frank, this is yours.
Okay. Bring up the photos, please. So this is a application to grant
Oh, I
certificate
remember this one.
of occupancy for a fence. This is at Collins Avenue, which runs, it's that short street. We're looking at the parking lot of the IGA. So this was a resolution that was passed in 2018 for a fence that ran from basically Collins Avenue back along that lot line. These are actually 2 properties. The house on the street you're looking at is 1 property. It has a shared driveway. And then at some point that's not marked on the property because they're owned by the same owner, same person. It becomes the rear flag lot. So this fence spans, is 8 Collins Avenue, but appears to me to span 2 lots. Anyways,
But if this was approved in September of 2018, then the approval has expired. Right? Aren't we in the same position with this, David? Yeah, if the approval, this
dear.
this is something we
For 3
need,
years.
yeah, this is something we need to check, Julie. Yeah, this is, the project approval date was 9/27/2018, so that means it expired on 9/27/2021. So they need to do an extension of time before we can approve it. Because it's, no.
Yeah.
So let's just, I'm sorry, I didn't notice this until now, but we're gonna have to wait on this.
don't apologize to me.
Yeah. okay.
Yeah.
we
Well,
went out
also,
and-
I
we
would
went
have
out
the
and
question
did
of
it.
is the fencing, I suppose it's not under a purview in the flag lot necessarily. Is that why only 8 Collins is listed versus the rear property?
I can't speak for the board. It just says resolve, the Architectural Review Board hereby approves stockade fence in various heights ranging from 5 feet to 8 feet, good side out, in the location indicated on the approved survey.
Okay, well, that's a little
And
vague.
the approved
Yeah.
survey has, and it's just kind of annotated.
I have the actual survey
Yeah,
here. Let me take
survey.
this because this is going to be easier to read. But I would suggest we don't spend any time on this because we can't approve it tonight anyway. And we'll ask staff to take a look at this. Maybe you take a look at this first, Dan, and see what you can come up with because it's a little funky. Okay. All right, so we're pushing on to Adam Gottlieb, Gott Surf LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-49-6-21. This is mine. It's out of the Surf Club, Surfside Avenue, Unit 11. This was for a renovation to include enclosing a partially opened atrium and installing a skylight. New exterior walls were needed to match exterior material and finish. New Anderson casement and fixed windows, egress compliant, were needed with trim to match existing, and to relocate the existing electrical fixtures on the exterior. And it looks nice, came out great. It substantially conforms to the resolution. I'd like to move that we, instruct staff to,
I have
thank you. I forget, everyone's scrambling. I make a motion to approve this application for request for certificate of occupancy and instruct staff to notify the building department that it's ready for a certificate of occupancy. Thank you, Frank. Oh, yeah, so many have appeared. May I have a second, please? Second. All in favor? Okay, great. Next up is Martin Handler. This is also mine. It's Frank's chips. Frank, there's my thing. But for some reason, okay. Oh, boo. This one was more complicated. I don't know what I did with the form.
These were the 2 units. In
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to fetch that from here. I have to go back out and photograph that. I photographed 20 rather than 22. I got myself confused. Here we go, Martin Handler. Sorry, everyone. So this was in the same development there. It's condominiums there and on Surfside Drive. And this was to enclose an entrance wall and door to match existing exterior material and finish. A new exterior entry wall and door at first floor, which is, oops, could you go back a sec, Jules? There it is. That's it. That's the door. New entry wall and casement, picture window, egress compliant, which is above there, with trim colors to match. Proposed infill roofing, all new to match existing finishes, and relocate existing exterior light fixtures, replace in kind. So, can you go to aren't there a couple more? Yeah, that's in that I had to like put the phone over a wall because there was no inch, but that's the door and the window there. Okay. So I would like to, I have my own here now. Like to make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department that this applicant has satisfied the conditions of the ARB approval of the resolution dated April 8th, 2021, and a certificate of occupancy can be issued. May I have a second, please? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Julie Spain, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-74-5-15. Diane, this is yours.
Yes, this application has been before us several times, and the owners have basically sacrificed their aesthetics to comply with our regulations.
Oh, wow. Good on them.
But now the wood fence and steel gate measures 6 foot 10 inches, and it's adjacent to the driveway and perpendicular to the street. And
okay,
and it's not in the right of way any longer.
Oh, I remember this one.
And the 7 foot 4 inch high wire gate that is 25 feet from the edge of the pavement is not visible due to our very steep incline. It's a very special property, and I think that conforms exactly to our resolution. So I make a motion to approve this application for a certificate of occupancy and instruct Julie to notify the building department that it is ready for a C of O.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, great. Next up is Todd Kingsley, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-165-5-12.1. Diane, this is you again.
Yes. Okay, there had been some confusion about what constituted the front and side and backyards of this property, but that has been all clarified now. Basically, it's on Spring Close Highway, and it has a deep, 50 or 70 foot wooded reserve And I visited there today, and it's in exact compliance with our resolution.
Great.
Property looks very nice. The fencing is 6 feet where it's supposed to be and not greater than 8. And the little shed is exactly 77 square feet.
Okay, wonderful.
So, so I make a motion to approve this application for a certificate of occupancy and instruct staff to notify the building department that it is ready for a certificate of occupancy.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up is Peconic Land Trust, Suffolk County Tax Map number, did I skip one? Todd Kingsley, that was Todd Kingsley. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-149-3-3.4. This is mine. This is for the Peconic Land Trust barn, which we approved an extension of time of earlier in the meeting. It's built exactly as it said it would be. It's tucked way back into the corner. It's almost impossible to see. It looks good, and I applaud the farmers in our community for feeding us. I would like to make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department that this applicant has satisfied the conditions and substantially informs the ARB approval of the resolution dated, well, March 10th, 2016, but extended today at the June 22nd, 2023 meeting, and a certificate of occupancy can be issued. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up is that the last one?
Yeah, this is resolutions now. What is this?
Todd Kingsley amendment? I don't know. What is the Todd Kingsley amendment?
So what is that?
During COVID, they had wrote the resolution incorrectly. And I went back and I watched a couple of movies and discussed it with Diane and Kathy. Not movies, a couple of
Recordings.
And so we just had to correct the verbiage in the resolution to show completeness. It was very poorly written, but it was during COVID.
Right. I just don't want to run the risk of what happened.
You can look at it. I make sure that's not going to happen.
Okay.
Where
is it?
The resolution should be by Frank.
He's just given them to me. Okay, I haven't read out here, Todd Kingsley. I'm just getting to it. Okay, so the amendment, well, then I think we need to vote on that. That's not something we can just sign as a resolution. If it's an amendment.
We all need to review it, right?
So this is the property that I visited today, just described.
Yes.
Oh, for God's sake. Okay. I missed that. Sorry, that is my bad.
Procedure.
I don't
None
know.
of us have seen, I mean, I haven't seen that.
All right, so the wire fencing along the south side of the property to be no greater than 6 feet in height. The wire fencing along the north, east, and west side of the property to be no greater than 8 feet high, which is basically what you said, right?
Yeah.
Existing shed to be no greater than 7 by 11 or totaling 77 square feet is indicated on specification
I
renderings.
took pictures today. There's pictures.
Yeah, all right. So, I mean, this is what Diane said. Do we have to vote on this or?
I don't know what the.
This says it's an amendment. Board hereby approves.
We have the one that we're amending?
Well, that's what I meant to say is that we need to have the original language in that resolution.
It is, and I've underlined what I amended. So that's the original.
So you just included the underlined language?
Yes, because I didn't have the fence information on the resolution.
I see.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's how that works. I would just.
Would
hold
you
off.
just hand this to David? David, have you seen that?
I discussed it. I didn't actually
Okay.
see it, but
Okay. Extension of time. Okay. Guess we're just signing this extension of time resolution. Is that? I don't remember doing this before. Inlet seafood. All right, well, I'm just gonna skip to Springs Library, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-80-1-4. Ocean Colony and Tennis Club, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-130-2-7.4. Inlet Seafood Extension of Time, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-6-2-3.1. 19 Fieldview LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-159-1-18.17. If we granted an extension of time to Peconic Land Trust tonight, does that mean we also have to have a resolution to that which we don't have,
No,
right?
it has to be filed with the town clerk, so it has to be
Well,
stamped.
we'd have to sign it too.
So I can do both next meeting.
Okay, but didn't we already approve it for CVO?
Yeah, I can do
Okay,
both.
but
at
we
the
can
next
do
meeting.
that
We can sign it, and I
retroactively?
can do both.
We can do that retroactively, David, that's okay?
Yes.
He's working out the Todd Kingsley event. Okay, okay, well, let's just, do you want to hold on Todd Kingsley? Resolution?
So originally it just said wire fencing along that to be no greater than 60 high.
Originally.
Am I like completely?
No, I don't,
So I had to go because they came in to USDL and I'm like, this doesn't.
It's okay.
You have the original resolution?
yeah, can we just table that till next time? I mean, if we're doing the extension of time also, it's kind of.
You're sure that they said the part about 8 foot?
I absolutely, I've watched the meeting 3 times. I discussed it with Diana and Kathy.
Did you see that amended resolution? Did you get a chance to review it, to make sure that?
Julie went over, I was in the office this week and she explained it to me and she showed me the different thing and I went there today.
Right, and it
And
matches.
it all seems to be-
Okay, so that's important because I haven't inspected the site myself, but Diane inspected the site, David, and she seems to think that comports.
Yes, I think next time we can just do this through a memo to the building department or
Okay.
Because this is technically, if you're voting on it and adopting, it's a modification.
Right,
So
right, it's not just an amendment.
they would get
Yeah,
another 3
I
years
get
from
it.
now,
Uh-huh.
like if we modify it,
Oh.
right? So I think this should be tabled and redone as a memorandum to the
Okay.
building department with this new language.
Okay.
So can we approve the CO and send it, well, on the condition there's a memo going to the building department?
What, you mean, what we've already
It's
done?
just gonna be a memo with the amendment on it.
I think we can just, I mean, we're already instructed, so just hold off instructing. We instructed you to contact the building department, so we don't do that unless we attach this memo with this adjusted language. Isn't that sufficient to address this? Oh, boy.
They approved existing fencing and shed. So the existing fencing is no greater than 6 feet in height.
Those were poles
It says wire fencing poles and posts shall be no greater than 6 feet in height.
at the south side of the property.
South on the gate side.
The gate side. And then the surrounding property was to
No,
be.
please do. That helps you
Why
out.
does it- This is as possible, so we can-
No, I think that would be good. It's a huge thing.
I don't know, because they went to the building department for something else and they said, you still have this open. We have to correct it. Because the board man came in with a survey and I'm like, this doesn't match the resolution. And he's like, yes, what's the meeting?
Can you just please reframe what the problem was, Julie?
The original resolution
Yeah.
only stated about the shed,
Well, no, it's approved existing fencing and shed.
existing fencing and shed.
Right.
And it says that the wire fencing poles and posts shall be no greater than 6 feet in height.
But also during the meeting, they discussed on the south side of the property, on the driveway side, it's a long flag lot. So on the driveway side, it was gonna be 6 feet, and the back and sides were gonna be 8 feet. Because there's an easement, it's far from the road, nobody can see anything, and the board approved everything. But that never made. So when the applicant came in for a CO, and I'm like, the survey doesn't match the resolution. And he's like, they voted on it, it just never made it to the resolution. So I watched it.
But I think what I think is, and I don't know how you can find this, but there is a way to modify resolutions. That's the practice in the past that is not this way. So I think that needs to be looked at,
sort that out.
so that administratively it's done correctly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't extend the time of the approval or anything like that. I think it just corrects the resolution.
Yeah, we did that we did that with.
No, we haven't,
We
haven't done it correctly.
Okay.
That's and that's on me also, because I didn't
Yeah, I
realize.
think, because this says proposed 8-foot tall fence to be installed along the existing 4-foot tall fence. And then this is proposed 8-foot fence to be installed on the subject property, existing to be moved. And this survey is from, I guess this is from 2021. This still just says proposed 8-foot tall fence to be installed along the existing 4-foot tall fence.
Okay, so can't we just
table that?
Table it.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna table that.
You're not going to resolve it.
Yeah,
No.
we're gonna need to resolve this administratively, I think.
Okay.
So I think we'll just, can I take a motion to adjourn, David, and we'll deal with that, Kingsley administratively. 7:30. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I'm sorry.